What is up, everybody? I hope you are feeling fantastically well. Can let me know if everybody can hear me okay, because for whatever reason, I can't. I can hear myself now. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Funkatopia WTF. I'm your host, Mr. Christopher. I assume that you could not hear me. I couldn't hear myself, but maybe you could. Welcome, one and all. This is the pre-show for those who have never tuned in to this show before. It's Funkatopia Live. I'm your host, Mr. Christopher, and tonight we're going to be having a lot of fun, but normally we do this first 10, 15 minutes just kind of hanging out, letting everybody just kind of file in and have a good time. Just say hello. Let me know where you're joining us from and whatnot. Carrie, how you doing? Good evening. Yes, yes. And let me tell you, after last week's show, I was like, after last week's show, I was thinking, I need to take a week off. I need to take a week off. But then I remembered that Patavian was going to be on. And I said, oh no. Because Patavian was originally supposed to be on the 11th and moved her to tonight. And then I looked at the calendar. I was like, nope, we're doing a show tonight. And on top of that, just so I might add, Michael Bland will also be joining us later on this evening. So get ready. It's going to be a full night again. So we got Patavian is going to be joining us along with Denny Bedrosian, both from Parliament Funkadelic. And we're going to have a good time tonight. And then Michael Bland is going to join us later on. So, man, I tell you, it's been nuts. It's kind of been crazy as far as this week has been for me. I hope your week is a little bit better. Sorry, I've got a little bit of issue with with this necklace thing. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing good. It's going to be a lot of fun, and why not? That's why we're here, right? Man, this has been Charlotte. How you doing? This has been a pretty crazy. It's been a pretty crazy year so far as Funkatopia is concerned. Hey, Krista, how you doing? I've already done a lot. I think when I got to the end of 2024, I had said to you guys, I said, I want to at least make sure that I do, I at least want to make sure that I do a lot more things funk related other than just Prince related stuff. We're still going to do Prince related stuff. Obviously we're doing Prince related stuff, but tonight we have Patavian, we have Danny Bedrosian, both from Parliament Funkadelic. We started off the year with Adam Smirnoff from Lettuce. We also had Divibes on from Watermelon Funk. We had High Fade, who I just posted the interview yesterday, I think it was. High Fade, the band from Scotland. I think I'd been saying they're from London. They're not from London. They're from Scotland. I don't know why I kept saying that. Of course, we had Jesse Johnson on last week, and Michael Bland's been on this will be, I want to say this will be the third time that he's been on the show just this year. So he's becoming a co-host of sorts. So there's that. It's going to be pretty amazing. So let me just say, we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time. And again, tonight, Danny Bedrosian and Patavian are in the house. And let me just say, they're already in the green room. So, we may start a little bit early, but we want to make sure, that all you guys are situated and get you guys filing in here. Charlotte, hello. How are you doing? Susan, what is going on? Sparrow. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We thoroughly enjoyed last week too. It's always good to have Jesse Johnson on because, as you know, Jesse doesn't really do a lot of interviews. And I think the last interview that he did was I take that back. He did Questlove's interview, his radio show, and then he did a special with Vertex Effects. That was a video version, but hey, we've had him on twice, and it's been an honor to have him on. He's an absolute legend, and not only his solo work and his work with Morris Day and the Time, but also just thinking of all the stuff that he produced and all the stuff that he wrote, that a lot of things that you guys don't even know about. From Tamara and the Scene to, it's on and on and on. So it is an honor to be able to hang out with you guys on Tuesday nights and just kind of just chill and relax. And tonight, as I said, we're welcoming Patavian and Danny Bedrosian. because I got a brand new album out called The Red Balloon, and we're going to be going through this album track by track, kind of getting some stories, because, you know, a lot of times when I get an artist in here that's got a brand new album, it's one thing to kind of get them in and start talking a little bit. It's another thing completely in order to get them to really dive into the album. And for you as a listener, it's one thing if I'm telling you how great the album is and you kind of get a little sense of what it may sound like based on the way they describe it to you and the vibe. But tonight, we're not only going to go through it track by track, I got a clip of every single song on there. Not like long clips, just like, you know, little 45-second clips, just so you can get a vibe of the album as we go through, and just have her talk about each one of the songs, maybe a little bit of the story behind it, you know, what kind of prompted it, and maybe even some of the songwriting stuff as well. Joni, hello. What's going? Hey, thank you. Yeah, it looks 3D. And if you guys want to recreate this effect, just get two. That's basically all this is. It is just a necklace with just two of them on there, but because of the fact it's the exact same thing, it kind of gives a little bit of a 3D effect. Yeah, Susan from Iowa. What time is it in Iowa? It's like that's 2 hours behind us, or 1 hour behind us. I know. But man, I wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way too. We do the live show starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we got about 6 more minutes here. I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to kind of come in. That's the reason why we do this pre-show, is to let people kind of go, oh, that's right, the show's on, get their drinks, get situated, and slowly start filing in, and then we start live at 8 o'clock. I wanted to go ahead and get some sad news out of the way first that I was not aware of. I heard about it last week and have been going through a process of trying to get it verified. And many of you know that throughout the years, I started this in 2005. I bought the domain name Funkatopia.com in 2004, launched the website in 2005. So this year, what's going on, Brian? This year, 2025, is the 20th anniversary of Funkatopia, which means I'm going to have some really cool stuff that's going to be coming. We're going to have some t-shirts that kind of celebrate the 20th year. We got some events that are planned, but still kind of locks things down. So expect a little bit of a cool hoo-da-da, whatever hoo-da-da is, maybe up in Minneapolis, maybe down here in Atlanta, just kind of getting the feel for, you know, whatever. But over those years, I've also had co-hosts. And one of the co-hosts a few of the co-hosts that, you know, obviously you remember Jeff Page. He was one of the last ones that was on the show. And all the co-hosts at one point in time just had a lot going on in their lives and just really couldn't commit the amount of time that this show requires. And this show requires a lot of time. That is one of the things I can honestly attest about this show, is it takes a lot of time. Just the amount of planning and the amount of prep and everything. And everybody has personal lives. And I get that. This is my vision and my dream. And it's hard to get people to commit to what your vision is, especially when there's not pay involved. But we have Jeff Page, also my friend Rob Rhythm, who was actually my friend from high school. He lived in Arizona. And the gentleman before that, who you may remember, you may have to go back. This was probably about 7-8 years ago. There was a gentleman that used to co-host with me named Nicky Tuzio. We called him Nicky T. I found out last week that Nicky T has passed away. I was not aware of this. I think Dwayne Tudor had reached out to me and said, you know, didn't Nicky used to do your show? You know, what's going on? You know, did you know him? Can you verify this? And unfortunately, I got out of touch with Nicky for a long time. Years. I haven't talked to him in years. And we just never, you know, once he left the show, I mean, we talked a few times, but that was really kind of about it. And he never really reached out. But Dwayne had confirmed to me that Nicky T has passed away. I don't know what I don't know what happened. I don't know what the cause of death was, but it was verified to me by it was verified to me from Dwayne, who spoke to his wife. So it is verified. So I wanted to go ahead and get that news out of the way. Not that it's unimportant or doesn't deserve time and reflection. But if you go on to, I mean, he was on quite a bit of shows with me. We did, I was trying to think of what all the stuff that he did. He did the MPG show when we had Tony M, Kip Blackshear, and Morris Hayes on. We're doing a show when Andre Simone came in and did a surprise visit on the show. Also when Sharon L. Nelson came on, Prince's sister came on to do a show with us on John Nelson's, her dad album. Nikki was with me on that show. He was also with me on the show when we interviewed Owen Husney, Wally Safford, rest in peace also, and Damon Dixon, when they got together and they were literally cutting up and talking for like hours and we didn't even have to ask any questions. But if you just look up Nikki Tuzio or Nikki T, Nicky, and the letter T, and then Funkatopia, you'll see some of the shows that he was on or hear some of the shows. I mean, a lot of it was audio, but we did have, some video components as well. But anyways, I did want to make sure that we kind of get that out of the way. That it's always horrible when we lose somebody in the purple kingdom. And on top of that, what makes it even more difficult is that guy was literally, Nikki T was literally a walking purple encyclopedia. Nikki was one of those guys that you could, if you said, oh yeah, no wait, when Prince played, Prince played up in Milwaukee on that one year, and he'll go, oh yeah, that was April so-and-so on this year. He was one of those guys. There's very, very few people that are like that. Wally Safford was like that. He could tell you exactly where he was on the day and the time and what was going on that day and what he ate for breakfast. It's crazy. Nikki was also one of those guys. He was a walking encyclopedia. It was a tough loss. It was a tough loss. But anyways, I wanted to make sure that I did take that moment because he was part of the Funkatopia family. So it was tough to see him. It was tough to see the news that he had passed away. So condolences to his family and friends and anybody that knows him here. And that maybe got introduced to him through Funkatopia or vice versa. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, rest in peace, rest in purple, Nikki Tuzio, Nikki T. And, that's tough. Anyways, tonight we're going to have a good time. All right. It's 8 p.m. So we're going to go ahead and get into the show. All right. You guys ready? I need to know that you guys are ready. I need to know that you guys are ready to go. I kind of put the mic over here. I stopped putting the mic right in my face. It used to be here. And then what I noticed was that whenever I listened to the recording, when the next day, when it was on Spotify and iHeartRadio, I'm like a little bit hot, or there might be some things that I say louder that gets really, really hot in the microphone. So I wanted to kind of move the mic away from me because obviously this is a pretty good mic. And so anyways, let me know if you can't hear me or if you need any volumes or whatever. Okay. So, let me just say it is really, really cool to have Patavian and Danny Bedrosian in the room. So let's go ahead and let me take this scroll down here. I'm going to take this scroll down because we're about to go into the Funkatopia Live regular show, 8 o'clock hour. I hope you guys are ready. You guys should all be filtered in, and I know there will be more coming along as well. So let's go ahead and get this started right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Funkatopia. I am your host, Mr. Christopher. WTF, as we like to say here, welcome to Funkatopia. You can get these mugs on funkatopia.com/shop. Matter of fact, hold on a second. Tonight, I have a special link on the website where if we get through if we progress through the night and you would like to pick up Patavian's new album, you can do that. And I'll give you the link and everything a little bit later. Anyways, I want to bring this artist on because obviously I've known Danny Bedrosian for a long time. And his wife, Patavian, is now here. And we are going to welcome them on board, both members of George Clinton in Parliament, Funkadelic. But there's more. There's way more to this story because we're not here to talk about that tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me bring on Patavian and Danny Bedrosian right now, right here. Give them a warm round of applause. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Mr. Christopher? How you doing?
Man, I am so glad you guys are here. Where are you at right now? Is that your that background?
Yeah, we're at the studio, at our home studio, actually, where we cut this out, a good portion of this album.
I don't think I've ever seen this angle of it. You normally always have like a closer angle on your shows and whatnot, but it's just it's pretty awesome.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, this is it's actually a new studio. We've been here a few months. It's I don't think we were here last time you and I spoke.
Yeah, probably not. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't remember what view it was that you guys shared, but it wasn't this one. But I'm glad. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Welcome. I'm so glad you guys are here because Danny, thank you for having me listen to this album because for those that don't know, this is his beautiful wife, Patavian.
Hi.
Hello. And Patavian is the granddaughter of George Clinton and also your wife. So that's, you're part of the family, whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
But what's really great is that I love the fact that you two were able to kind of craft this brand new album called The Red Balloon, which we're going to be talking about tonight. But I kind of want to get a little bit of, since, Patavian, this is all about you. So I want to kind of give a little bit of an idea of, growing up in this family. When did you first, I guess here's the thing. When did you first realize, oh, Grandpa George is kind of famous? What was that?
A lot of the grandkids, we get asked this all the time. And for most of us, it wasn't until we were older. Like, we grew up going to shows and going to his concerts, and it still was like, oh, he's just granddad. Like, even seeing him on the stage doing his thing, a million people screaming for him, he just was always granddad. But one day we went out to dinner, and we couldn't get out of the dinner because everyone in the restaurant, they were lined up to get his autograph and to talk to him. We couldn't even get our order taken. And that's when it clicked, like, oh, he's somebody. He's somebody. And I think I was like 12 or 13, something like that. So all before that, he was just regular old grandpa. But then I was like, oh, you're famous. So yeah.
And how old were you at that time?
Like 12, 12, 13. I think there was another time where he took me shopping for school clothes. And, my grandmother, would be very picky. We're only going to get this, and it's going to be very specific. And my grandfather was just like, listen, just put what you want in the cart and just get it to the register. I don't really care. I'm like, Granddad, can I have this? I don't, just put it in the cart, bring it up to the register. So I literally filled it up to the very tip top. And I'm like, let's see, if he's going to go for this. And all right, let's just get it. And I was like, okay, I think he might be somebody. So, yeah.
Yeah, I always think it's funny because there was one time that I was out with my daughter. I mean, obviously I'm not famous, but there are people that do know me from the show. And we were out, I can't remember where we were, and somebody asked, oh, Mr. Christopher from Funkatopia, and asked to take a picture with me. And my daughter was like, what's happening here?
Right.
It's just really weird that actually happens. But so the next part I want to know about is how you two connected. Obviously, you're kind of performing in the same band, but what was that moment that kind of drew you together too? And let me know if you're like, this is way more personal than I want to talk about.
Babe, I'm gonna let you do this one.
Okay, gonna let me do it.
I'm gonna let you
I
do
was
this
just
one.
irresistible.
And here we go.
And she just no. No, to be honest, so we knew each other forever and ever, like where I was just Danny, a guy in Granddad's band. And then I also want to point out too, not to put you too much on the spot.
Put me on the
but
spot.
Patavian was basically raised by George. So grandfather, yes, but also
my dad.
Yeah.
So, he's my grandfather, but he's my dad because he raised me.
So George's wife at the time and himself were the ones who, you know, who were her guardians, her actual legal guardians, and who raised her and she lived with. So in a lot of ways, she had a different experience than a lot of the kids or the grandkids did. I think I just want to like put that out there. But I was in the band for a million years before I was anything more than just one of Granddad's band guys, and she was nothing more than one of my boss's grandkids for a million years. And then I had already been in the band for 11 years when she joined. And the first day that she came, and again, we already knew each other for a decade, 2 decades. When she joined, it was like they were rehearsing something. And you know, I have like a sort of music director role with George. Even back then, before it was like official, he would have me try to run rehearsals and things at sound check and try to get things together in certain ways with the rhythm section, or if we're doing stuff with the singers or whatever. And so I noticed she was going through it or just being difficult something.
I was being so bratty, like, oh, rehearsal. I'm one of the grandkids. I don't need to go to rehearsal.
Some Nepo baby stuff. Some straight Nepo baby stuff. And I'm like the total opposite. I'm just, what's wrong? What's the matter with you? What can we do to make this better? You know, like I'm trying to like say it in a positive way. Well, what could we do, Patavian? This is our first day. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, give me a break.
My
God. Oh my God, you know? and that was it. No. But you know, we developed like a camaraderie first as bandmates, and then we became friends. And then we were best friends for like years.
I found out he was funny because I'm not going to lie to you. I just thought that he was like this first of all, I didn't know that he was Armenian. I had no idea he was Armenian. So I just thought that he was just a corny white guy. Like, I don't even really know you. How'd you get in this band? Like, and then as I got to know him, I'm like, oh, okay, you have a little soul. You got a lot of soul. And then like, you know, the humor came out, the Northern, you know, Boston came out. And I was like, okay, all right.
Well, that's awesome. And, you know, what's really cool is that, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about this, but before we delve into this, let's go into how you got involved with, and a lot of people who follow Parliament Funkadelic may be familiar with Candy Apple Red with a K, by the way. Tell people a little bit about how you got into Candy Apple Red and that project a little bit.
Well, Candy Apple Red is of course me and my cousin Tanisha, and Tanisha's also in the band. And you know, we wanted to show our grandfather like we have talent too. We can sing, we can do it. And so when we presented him with, you know, we didn't start off Candy Apple Red, but when we told him like, Granddad, listen, we want to do this. We want you to take us seriously. He was just like, oh, okay, that's cute. You know, we hadn't recorded anything. We hadn't done anything. We just said to him, we want to sing. And he was like, oh, okay, that's cute. And the reaction was just so like, oh, we got to really show him. Like, we got to show him we can do this. So we got down to business. We thought of names and tried to get outfits together and record things. And we, you know, flew to Detroit to get in the studio so that we could, you know, really be, you know, just come up with something substantial to show him like, listen, we can do this. And, you know, just we explored our sound and, you know, did videos, and it was really great. It was really, really, really great. And I miss it. I miss it.
Well, you know, but now you're back in the mix. So let's, you know, I've heard that, you know, you mentioned, I think it was on an interview that she did on your show, Danny, that you mentioned just in passing. I've been in and out of the studio since you were 5 years old.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what did you record at 5?
So she's on records that are out. Tell. Do you know? Do you want me to say it? What you're on?
Yeah.
So like Peppy the Pill Popper from Dope Dogs, and what was the other one? There was some Pack of Wild Dogs, I think was the other one, and there was another one.
There's one more.
There's another one with Eddie Hazel, I think.
And what were you doing on them?
Kibbles and Bits.
Kibbles and Bits. There we go. There we go.
She's doing like they had her rapping, but she was also singing. They found out that she could sing, and she could sing whatever note they gave her. You know, like George and Gary and all the guys were like, "Oh, little Patavian could sing." And she was tiny, you know. And I mean,
no idea what I was doing.
I wasn't there, but I just, have heard the story so many times. And she ended up on those records, and she's singing and rapping, and
that's cool.
Yeah, man, it's funny to hear those records because I was 5, and so you think about being 5 and then you listen to the lyrics, you have no idea what my grandfather's talking about, and then you get grown. It's like Peppy the Pill Popper. Like, oh, you really had me talking about some things. Like, I can't believe that came out of my mouth. So it's always funny, like listening back, like, and how confident I said it. The Pill Popper, like, oh Lord.
I have to go back and re-listen to those with this new.
I'm getting deep at 5. I'm getting real deep.
I don't know what this question is. Andrew asked, do they know anything about Jimmy G and the Tag Hands? What does that mean?
Yeah.
You said so.
Yeah, Jimmy G and the Tag Heads is a group. It's Jimmy Giles, who was one of George's younger brothers, who played bass. And George produced some records on him in the late 70s and early 80s, right when he was getting Uncle Jam records together. And for people who don't know that story, there's a whole storied thing about Uncle Jam records, and you can find out more, in that book you just grabbed out. But but basically Jimmy G and the Tack. But George produced an album on Jimmy G and the Tack Heads. That one's from the 80s, and it's funny somebody mentioned it, because we're actually going to be doing one of the songs from that album, from the Jimmy G album, at an upcoming show in April that's curating the 70th anniversary of PFunk. It's 70 years old this year. So
now you guys know, I mean, Funkatopians know that I like these encyclopedic, that's the right term. Like all these books I have up here of prints and all these things. And what's great about this is I'm actually mentioned in this book. And the reason I mentioned is because when Danny wrote this book, if you want to pick up this book, by the way, Danny, you're not going to believe this, the link is still good. You can go to funkatopia.com/DANNY, and you'll be taken right to Amazon to pick up this book. So that link is still active. I don't really take things down because I never know when people are going to watch these videos later. But he had already had a lot of this written, but was really having difficulty finding a taker as far as for publishing it. And it was exactly like Dwayne Tudall's books. And I was just like, this doesn't make, I mean, if, Roman and Littlefield is like the books that they like, you should go to Roman and Littlefield. And guess what? Roman and Littlefield, that's what it's from. And so I am so glad that you were able to get this printed, and that I helped in even some form or fashion. But it's so awesome, and it's got so much information about Parliament Funkadelic from 1956 to 2023. Is there a second version of this coming out? Didn't you mention something that you were going to be doing, like a revision or something like that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do have to say always thank you, Christopher, because you are instrumental in me landing the right deal, not just a deal or any deal, but the right deal for the book. So I always have to thank you for that. And it wouldn't have been right for me not to mention you in the book, or any time that we talk to each other, because you got me in with Dwayne, and Dwayne got me in with Michael Tan over at Roman and Littlefield. And those 3 people, are hugely instrumental to it becoming published. So always thanks to you, Christopher, always. And yes, there is a second edition, but they're making me kind of wait. So in the meantime, because the book, I'm happy to say, was Roman and Littlefield's bestseller in 2023 when it came out, which is really cool because it was only out for like 2 months in 2023. So it sold really well. And now it's like among the best sellers for the publisher for their whole history. So they greenlit sort of another series of books. I have a new book coming out in October. And these books are going to be kind of a microscope in to very specific periods in P-Funk history. So the one in October, I don't want to give too much away, but the one in October is basically about 1975, being the 50th anniversary of 1975. And all you need to do is look up what did P-Funk do in 1975, and you'll find out some things. This book touches really deeply into that year. And so that's what my new series is going to be, touching on specific periods in P-Funk history and how they, you know, how they affected the world, how the world affected them, and all kinds of other really cool historical stuff, inside stuff, studio stuff, discographical stuff, and more.
Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to check it out. I mean, I love going through this stuff and really kind of getting the background information of some of the inner workings. And speaking of that, now you've teamed up with your wife, who is a fantastic poet.
Oh,
and you've taken her poetry and you've transitioned it into a musical version. I'll let you kind of explain this brand new album that you guys have released, called The Red Balloon. Tell me a little bit about this, how this kind of came to fruition. I don't know where you want to start, but it's
so, you know, we worked together, obviously, musically many times, both on the stage and television, and we had done compositions together and worked on albums for each other and all kinds of things. But I really wanted her to do a solo album, and I think she kind of was against, or maybe not against the idea, but just was fighting it a little bit.
I was against it for a long time because there'd been so many people, mainly my grandfather, who wanted to do what he did. And I was just like, you know, my grandfather would be like, let me get that poetry. Let's do something with that poetry. I mean, for years and years and years. And I'm just like, you know, and so, you know, when Danny said it, I felt like, and it wasn't because I didn't think that my grandfather could do it. Obviously, he can absolutely do it. But, you know, when Danny when he had the idea to, you know, let's make an album out of this, I just feel like it was kind of the right time. I was feeling it a little more like, you know what? Hey, let's do it, you know. So, but I was nervous though. I'm like,
Yeah, and we basically, you know, we really, really, really took our time on this, and this album began concurrently with the creation of or sort of the finishing of the book, as well as it was starting to be recorded the same time that I was finishing Garmier Caramel with the brothers Nalbandian, and
great album.
Thank you. And so it was all during that early COVID period, you know. So this was that one that we started during COVID that we continued working on well after the COVID period was over, because it was just the kind of album that I knew we were going to have to take our time on. And like, I knew I was going to get nitpicky with it. And so, yeah, I wanted to really work really, really slowly. So I poured over her awesome poetry, which I was already very aware of, but like I started going into it and like, which ones could be vocal arrangements for what tracks. And I had just gotten a bunch of tracks. I was doing studio work for a number of big artists whose names I'll leave out, I guess, right now. But but there were like tracks that were made for certain artists that I had that was like very kind of radio ready, and I really liked the quality and like the direction it was going in. And I had just done like a surplus of these tracks, and there was no way that they were all going to go out, you know, or whatever. So like I decided in the end to save a couple that I kind of felt strongly about. And not even necessarily right away for Patavian. I just thought there was going to be something, but they definitely suited her, I felt like, and her feel and style. And like, I'm a synesthete, so I'm like seeing colors in all composition, and so like certain colors would like make me think of her, be like, oh, her voice complement that shade really well, and so I started collecting these songs, these tracks, and this is years of work. And so then I started, it was probably 4 years of working on just the music and pouring over the poetry. And then it was another year and a half or more of turning the poetry into vocal arrangements. And she still hadn't even really heard them at this point.
Yeah.
and then it was about a year, a little less than a year of recording the vocal arrangements themselves, her parts, and I also did some overdubs, but mostly her, and getting all those vocal parts down. That was mostly done the almost year prior to release. And so with that, and then the mixing and mastering, which was 4 straight months of 6 to 9 hour mixing sessions daily.
That was brutal.
And I was just like, it was just over and over, like, I gotta change this. Oh, we have to start over, But I felt really strongly about it. It was a passion project, not just for Patavian, but even for me. And among my productions, it's really one of like my favorite ones because it's unique unto itself. It doesn't sound like anything else. And the thing that really gratified it for me, because we didn't let anybody listen to this for 4 years. We worked on it for 4.5 years. Nobody heard it. And then one day, George, myself, guitarist Kevin Oliver, Lige Curry, bassist, and Benzel Cowan, drummer, they were all here because we were rehearsing for another concert coming up. And they were over for dinner, and we were just hanging out after dinner. And so I decided to start playing the tracks. I didn't tell them what it was. I just started playing them. George stood up immediately, and he's like, oh, and he was just really, they were all really like really enjoyed it. But George was kind of blown away, and like he was just, he told everybody about it. He's like, it's so progressive. Oh, I've been telling her to do this for years. I can't believe you did it, and he was such a huge supporter of it and of the sound, which made me happy. That kind of gave me the like, okay, I'm doing the right thing and taking my time with it, and we're doing the right thing in making it happen in general.
What's really cool about it is that, and just so you know, for those just joining us, you are listening. That was the voice of Danny Bedrosian. If you're listening on Spotify, our Heart Radio, as of tomorrow for the audio, whatever, that is Danny Bedrosian, keyboardist for Parliament Funkadelic, and he has joined forces with his wife, Patavian, create this album from her poetry called The Red Balloon. It's a brand new release. And I know you guys are probably a little bit intrigued based on his description, but guess what? We are going to be listening to a snippet of every single track on this album because I want to get the background story, and I got Danny's approval before I even did this. And I wanted to kind of make sure that I spent time with each one of the songs and kind of, pulled out some really good pieces that kind of give a really good vibe of each individual track, because I think it's important when you hear about a new album, especially as you, the listener, you're like, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I might check it out or whatever, but it's when you get to experience it and you kind of get the stories behind each one of the tracks, it kind of endears you a little bit. And I'll go ahead and share this link. So that's any point in time that you are interested in, if you're interested in picking up this album, I actually did the same thing for Patavian as well. I actually created a link at funkadelic.com/Patavian.
Oh, hey.
And this will take you to a page on Funkatopia that kind of shows the album and kind of describes the album a little bit, gives you a little bit of background story, and of course the ways that you can purchase it on that page. Because there wasn't really a landing page for it, and I was just like, Danny, we gotta give this a home so that so it has one now.
Yes, thank you.
And I actually have to make a little spelling adjustment too, because that's going to make me crazy if it scrolls across the screen all night. So, all right. So, all right, we're going to spend some time with this brand new album, The Red Balloon. And let me go ahead and give my little scoop on this album as I spent time and listened to it. The problem with listening to funk music as much as I listen to it is that there is a formula, a lot of which is the fault of your grandfather, about how you absorb funk, how you listen to funk. There's a certain way, there's obviously the rhythmic quality of it. And of course there's the James Brown version of it, that's on the one. But George really did a lot as far as really kind of crafting the template for funk. And but one of the things I know about Danny Bedrosian, not just from his work with Parliament Funkadelic and standing behind him on a couple of shows now, literally standing behind him while he's playing keyboards, like right here. I think the last time I did that was at Sweetwater Music Festival when he had everybody on the stage and I was standing right next to you the whole entire time.
Nice.
But I also know, your work with Secret Army and some of that stuff. I know you guys you're actually driving distance from me next Friday. And I'm this Friday, actually. I'm really debating because it's a 4-hour drive and I don't really have anywhere to stay. So I'm trying to figure all that out, but I'm going to try to get to the show. But anyways, my point is, I know that how Danny is very eclectic.
Yes. Yeah.
So he plays what he kind of feels and what he's vibing out on. And I think he really took that aspect of it when he was reading your poetry, and he kind of crafted his music around the poetry. And that doesn't always lend itself to funk, but it did create a vibe. And you definitely, obviously, have been part of the PFunk family for a long time, because the vocal chord progressions that you were doing, and this probably Danny's direction too, the vocal chord progressions that you were doing on some of the songs are very Funkadelic. It's, just kind of that weaving through, may not. And so that's the reason why I think it's important for people to experience this album, and hopefully they'll go to funkatopia.com/Patavian and get it. But let's talk. Let's go through this album. Let's start with the very, very first track, which is probably one of my favorite songs on the album for sure. The name of the song is called Eclipse. So tell me about this lo-fi masterpiece, in my opinion, Danny. This is it's really, really cool. Tell me about Eclipse and also the meaning behind Eclipse and the storyline.
The track, it's definitely inspired by lo-fi. So like lo-fi hip hop and all that kind of stuff. I was also kind of feeling a little Amp Fiddler vibes on there too, with the Rhodes thing, kind of mixing it. European kind of thing too up in there.
Right.
But it like you said, you put it very well. I was creating vocal arrangements, melodic, harmonic fragments and things that I thought would suit Patavian's voice. And most importantly, she said herself, she's like, I could never figure out how to turn my poetry into vocal arrangements, because to her, these are words that can only be phrased when spoken in poetic form. And that's another experience altogether. What we need to do is create the audio book as well for the poetry, because hearing her speak it is also another experience altogether. But to give a lyrical connotation, baby, you tell them about the concept.
Well, Eclipse was a poem that I wrote when we were in our very early, stages of dating. And I don't know what I was doing to get the idea, but it was kind of like I wanted to take a different direction from, usually when I write love poems, I get so deep with it that you really don't know what I'm talking about, or it's so complicated that you're not really sure what I'm saying. So I wanted to kind of lighten it up, and I wanted to just, I don't know, the idea that there's a man and a woman, and the woman sees herself as not as worthy to the man, not realizing her worth. And the man, she thinks is just wonderful and great and big and powerful. And she thinks that she's so small and could never be loved and could never be seen, and not really realizing how big and grand and great and how much she's, you know, important. And so I was trying to figure out how can I kind of put that concept into a poem. And so Eclipse, that's how that came about.
Let's take a listen. It's actually the longest clip that I have, and it's only 58 seconds, but it's the longest clip that I have. So, but let's check this out. This is, you guys are gonna love it. Here we go.
Dear son, I think I love you. Would you love me if you knew? I only spin around one, but they all spin around you. I can't really cover up the scars on my face the way you do, but you still think I'm beautiful. I can't really cover up the scars on my face the way you do.
That was a little clip of Eclipse right there. Yeah, man. That was like the longest instrumental part that I played, because that track is fun. How long ago did you write that, Danny?
You know, that was like early COVID period. Like, you know, I don't know, we probably worked on it from 2019 to 2024.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this whole album is kind of like that. It was all real steady, just growing organically.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's just a good pairing for your voice too. So it was just really perfectly done. All right, let's talk about the next song on here. There's 11 tracks, one of which is a cover. We'll get to that in a second. But the second song is a song called Rocket. Tell me a little bit about this track.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
So this actually took the longest to write of the whole album. And yeah, I don't really know. I think this is the first one we did. This is the very first track we did, I think, for the album was Rocket. And well, at least it was the very first one that we turned into a vocal arrangement from poetry. So it was the first one that we transferred in that way. And in doing so, much like with the authorized PFunk song reference, early phases of creativity on various mediums sometimes are not yet realized. So that could have just been a song for Patavian, you know, as opposed to an album. So when creating it, I was probably thinking in that way instead of an entire production. But it's one that like I changed and messed with a million times, and it's super progressive. It's also the first one George heard, and it's what really kind of blew him away. He was just like, this is so awesome. I think he just liked the otherness of it. It doesn't really sound like anything else. It's got elements of other things, but it's definitely the one I probably spent the most time, at least with the track.
Right. And what about the poem itself?
I think I wrote this maybe in, oh my goodness, how many years ago? I know I was on the road, so maybe 2017, maybe around there. And it is a song that is giving a very dramatic take on how beautiful love is, but how very torturous it is. And it's kind of saying, like, I love the beauty of it. I love the way it feels, but I also recognize how torturous it is. And I'm willing to go through the torture. I'm willing to be just completely just taken through the mud. I love it and I hate it and I love it and I'm gonna go through it. And so it's a very dramatic take on that kind of love.
All right. Well, let's take a listen. Here's a little snippet of the song called Rocket. Check it out.
If you between my pillow, you become my sheep. All I can do is count you over and over and over. And like, as your limitless number these days, grant me understanding of how love can be so malicious and relentless, knocking me on both knees, begging for it to cease and continue. Allow me to love you without restraint now and be punished for it later. Let me uncover myself, unadorned for you. Assure that you will take me, everything I am, and never let go.
Yeah, that was a track, a little piece called Rocket. And that was actually one of those songs for me that I had to like re-listen to a few times because there's so much going on as far as the intricacy of the vocal patterns in that song. And it's a lot of change ups. And that's one of the primary songs. That was the first song that I heard on the album where I was like, that's got that Funkadelic vibe all over it. How it's just kind of, yeah, very, very quirky song. Very cool. I mean, yeah, Susie agrees.
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So that brings us to track 3, which is a track called Rock. Tell me about this one.
Nice. Yeah. So that one was like, I think when we were first putting the tracks together, it was your favorite track initially.
Oh, yeah.
Like the instrument parts. And that was like the first like more down tempo, more low key one that we worked on. And we started noticing that like the ballads were taking us a long
time.
And like we started getting, because our thing too, we're both like very harmonically driven. So like even on that last one, Rocket, you heard me harmonizing. We kind of looked at each other when we were a little harmony thing that we did. And we're always talking about, get off my note, you're on my note,
Right.
and rock has a lot of that. It's just a lot of intricate vocal stuff, like super tight harmonies, you know what I mean? Very close together and trying to achieve that kind of thing. And it's really, instrumentally, it's very ethereal, but still having that kind of big beat, but still trying to be beautiful at the same time. So it's kind of more of like a mid-tempo, I guess.
All right. And Patavian, what's the theme of this song?
This song actually is about my difficulties on the road. It was not, although when you read the poem, you might not think that. That's kind of what it's really about. When I got on the road, I didn't want to be on the road. I was kind of fighting it. I was really, really being just obstinate about it. And I struggled a lot. I did not just flow into it because I'm George Clinton's granddaughter and I was raised in it. It was very difficult for me. And just adjusting and having kids and going back and forth and just that balance. It was really difficult. So that's what that song is about.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a little peek at this one. This song is called Rock. Check this clip out.
Forth you go, rocking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth you go, rocking. Soon I can never get to.
And that was a little clip of Rock. Kate Eddy says, stunning, reminds me of the vocal dreaminess of Kate Bush.
Did you say that?
That's interesting because, no, I didn't say it.
Oh.
It's interesting because a friend of ours is actually a pretty famous world famous artist, fine artist, comic book artist, and muralist, this guy Brian Moss. And one of the other songs on the album, Breathe, actually reminded him of Kate Bush. It was funny. Neither one of us really know much about Kate Bush. We had to like go back and be like, oh yeah, I remember Kate Bush. Like it's really funny. I think, but I do see now that like people say it. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that's very cool. You have lots of harmonies on that. I was just remembering those oohs. I know I did about 26 oohs on that.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of oohs on that.
Those harmonies took a minute.
I was gonna ask you if there was any other background vocalists. Is it just you two on this album and that's it?
Anybody the whole album is the two of us. Yeah, and she's doing all the leads and we're both doing all the backups.
Jeremy asked, have you considered putting the album out as a vinyl release? Have you got to that point yet?
Yeah, it's already mastered for vinyl, so we're gonna do a vinyl release as well. And what I was gonna say too is if because right now we have the CD and the poetry book, but people can request if they order it through the page that you have down there, Christopher. They can request a digital version as well. And they can as long as they provide me with email address to send it to, whatever, send them the link or however they want to get the link, that's fine. But yes, there will be a vinyl release, and we're actually planning several vinyl releases because, as you know, Christopher, I got like 24 albums under my name and then an additional maybe 30 that I've produced for other artists, and none of that stuff, or at least very little, a couple exceptions, very little of it is on vinyl, and so we're trying to get on top of that. A lot of it was about like choosing what comes out first. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to put out first? You have this wealth of material to sort of draw from. But we have already started the process with this album, so yes, there will eventually be a vinyl release.
Well, all right. So let's go to the next song here, which is Cockroach. Tell me about this song.
So yeah, this is one of your favorites, right?
It is my favorite.
Oh, it's your favorite. Okay. And yeah, it's such a visceral kind of track, The beat, it's probably the first beat I made. It's probably the oldest thing on this album. So I probably made that sometime summer of 2019. And then didn't do anything else with it for years, just had it sitting, and I wasn't sure who it was going to go to, and then eventually I was like, okay, it's going to be on Patavian's album. And then I started adding this guy. I'll hold him up for you. This is the ARP Pro Soloist. This is the keyboard that Bernie Worrell played most of the iconic synthesizer work in Parliament Funkadelic. Most of it is not the Moog, it's the ARP. And it's this particular model, the Pro Soloist. So a lot of the stuff you're hearing on that track are those classic. Junie Morrison was also very well known for using it on Funky Worm, Ohio Players, so you can really hear all of those classic kind of funky synth sounds on there. And it kind of mixes well with the like a buggy kind of cockroachy beat, So that's the story of the track. And I'll let Patavian talk about the lyrics.
This, man, I love this track. I when I was little and my grandfather would cut his albums and then release them, Dope Dogs and just all the albums, I would be so excited because I knew my dad was going to be on the album, and I just wait, and then dad would come on and my whole world would just light up like, oh my gosh, there he is, that's my dad. And so I hear so much of myself in this song. Like when I listen to it, I'm like, oh wow, I kind of sound like my dad. So I love this song. But
say who your dad is.
Oh, and my dad is Tracy Lewis, who I am named after. So yes.
Nice.
But the song is not, it's a very up-tempo, song, but the story behind it is actually rather quite sad. I'm a trauma, abuse, and grief counselor. And while I was doing my training, all of my peers who were in the training with me kind of just talked about their stories and, their background and what led them to being, a counselor and things like that. And so one of my classmates, she was in an abusive relationship, and she said one day sometimes I used to just stare at the wall and wish that I were a cockroach. And we were all just like, what? Like, why would you wish that? Why would you want that? And she was like, if I could just be small enough and tiny enough to squeeze through the crack, I could escape. And it was just like, what, and that really, like, that hit me really hard to hear her say something like that, to be something so disgusting, something that we loathe and hate. She wanted to be that so bad so she could, escape that relationship. And so I made this, there's actually a few songs on this album that are related to my trauma, abuse, and grief counseling. And so we made this song out of that story.
All right. Well, let's take a listen to it together. This is a clip from the song Cockroach. Check it out. Nice.
Favorite.
Yeah, who is making Danny, is that you making the grunts on the
Isn't it amazing?
that is definitely. Yeah, that's definitely, that's probably my favorite song as well, but I still love Eclipse. The lo-fi vibe of Eclipse is such a cool track. But yeah, that's probably my favorite too.
Nice.
Yeah, right. All right, let's take a listen. Well, let's first talk about the next track on here, Nightly News.
Yeah, Nightly News was a track that I was originally going to, I think, do for one of my solo albums. And it was called You Really Pissed Me Off. And it was going to be like this country song. It was like, you really pissed me off.
I don't think you told me that.
But I didn't end up keeping it, but I kept the vocal arrangement and molded it to the lyrics of that song. Because I liked it, but I didn't go too far with the lyrics. I did like a verse. And then I didn't know where to go from there. So I scrapped the lyrics, kept the vocal arrangement. And gave her the track. And it is probably one of the more fun, like, it's a little different than some of the stuff that you hear before it. So it's like a little bit more in, like, George calls it like a country and Western song. Like, he was like, it's like a country song. It's definitely got a little more folksy elements in it, mixed in with the kind of obvious synthesized and digital elements and stuff. So yeah.
Again, this is one of those other trauma, abuse, and addiction stories. This song is setting the scene for some of, trauma and abuse that you kind of don't see. It's the scene, and everyone's kind of looking over it and not seeing that this is where everything is taking place. This is where everything is going down. It just looks like a regular room, but underneath it all, there's lots of cracks and lots of whispers and lots of secrets and lots of lies and lots of fear and all of that stuff. Again, from one of my classmates. And so I kind of took her pain and took her story and all of that and turned it into Nightly News.
So, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this once we get to the Red Balloon too, because there is an overarching theme here, obviously, with just a lot of childhood trauma and things like that. And, so we'll dig a little bit deeper into that, but this album definitely must've been therapy for you.
Yes, it was. That's kind of why I didn't want to do it. That's kind of why I didn't want to do it, because you kind of have to face that and put your emotion and your feelings all into that. And it's kind of like, I don't want to do it. So yeah.
Yeah. All
But
right.
it ended up being wonderful. So I'm glad I did.
Let's take a listen. Here's a clip from the album. This is the longest clip. It's the clip Nightly News. Got a minute here on this one. Check it out.
Who the hell keeps magazines by the TV? Anyway, but they're never really all gone down. Oh, always one up under the other, up under the other. Up under the covers until there's a mountain spot somehow right over you.
And that was a little clip of Nightly News. Man, so many different on this. And again, that's why I kind of prefaced before we even started down the journey here. I was like, don't get wrapped up into the guys everywhere on this. It's really, really cool. So
Thank you.
all right, let's go to the next track on here, Clarendon. Tell me a little bit of this one.
Yeah, this was like when we finished this one. This is when I think both of us were like, okay, we're on to something. I felt like this was one that, and it's funny, this always happens when you're making albums. I think that as a producer or an artist, you fall in love with certain tracks, and they never end up being the ones that the fans like the best. But like, they're always these kind of weird esoteric ones that are like, oh, I love that one the best. And this is like one of the most esoteric ones. But it's one of those ones that's kind of, I based it a little bit on, it's supposed to give like a nostalgic, I grew up in the 80s. I'm an Xennial, the in between Gen X and Millennial Gen. And, it's that kind of 80s-ish, the chording. It's kind of like Time After Time a little bit in a way.
Right.
It's got some of that chording feel. It's got some of that type of instrumentation. And I always just liked the mood of that stuff. I remember hearing it as a kid and just being like, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. It's not what I really listen to, but there's something about it that I can taste that I really like. And so that's one of a few tracks that I had done in that, like that mold around that time. And that one we kept for Patavian's album. I actually sold several of those to several big artists, sort of as a ghostwriter, if you will.
Right.
And that one I kept for Patavian. And that's a word I never even heard of, Clarendon, until you told me what it was. I didn't even know.
I believe that's probably the case for a lot of folks. So go ahead, Patavian. Tell people what a Clarendon is.
So this is social media. Clarendon is actually a filter on Instagram. And you probably don't have it anymore, but it's like when everybody was changing the filters and throwing these filters on themselves, and you have the sepia and all these different, you could just pick any filter you want and just kind of just throw it at yourself and be what you want to be, and change the background and change yourself and add eyelashes and take them away and have the makeup on. And it just really just was crazy to me how like presenting yourself in social media, you can really just choose what you want to be and make yourself look completely different and present yourself in a way that's really not authentic at all. And I just was really kind of taken aback by that. Like, everyone is using this one filter. At one point, it was the most used filter of that year. I don't remember what they did, some statistic on it. And I got sick of seeing it. Clarendon, this filter, Clarendon. I just was so tired of it. I was seeing this filter on everyone's face. So that's where that poem comes from.
All right, let's take a listen to it. Here's a little clip. This is Clarendon.
It's good, it's bad, no, it's maybe I don't know. Maybe just a couple more comments, and we'll have our minds made up. Minds made up, minds made up, minds made up. No one can keep a secret. The truth is, Clarendon isn't keeping you as cool as you think it is.
Okay, see, now that I got the background on that, it makes a lot more sense. All right, let's go to the next track. Next song is Breathe. Tell me a little bit about this one.
Again.
Before you go, for those just joining us, we are joined by Parliament Funkadelic keyboardist Danny Bedrosian and Patavian, who is released her brand new album called The Red Balloon, which is it was co-written by Danny and his wife Patavian, and this is part of the Parliament Funkadelic family, and it is all good. And you guys, we're experiencing the album together, track by track. All right, I'm sorry. Breathe. Tell me about this album, the song.
So yeah, it's the shortest one I think on the album, I think, and it kind of just comes and goes real quick. But it was one that was, I don't want to say an afterthought, but I think it might be the very last thing I cut for the album. I think it's the very last thing that we needed, like one more song, if I can remember correctly. And it's another one of those ones that saw a lot of changes. You know, again, when you're working on these songs for years. And this is the one that my good friend Brian was saying reminded him of Kate Bush. But again, he heard a whole different mix of it too, though, because then we changed, you know, because I was just going through all these sort of anal retentive or whatever, just these crazy moments of like, I have to change this, you know. So it sounds even different than it did like a month before it came out. But yeah, I like this track a lot. And then Tavian, tell them about the sorry, while you're drinking. Hey, talk.
And that's why I had to also make the clip a little bit shorter, because I was like, I can almost play the whole song, but I don't want to do that. Go ahead, Patavian. I'm sorry.
This is another one of those trauma, abuse, and addiction songs. One of my classmates talking about one of her domestic violence relationships, and she had mentioned that every time her husband walked into a room, she would hold her breath so long that she forgot to breathe, and she would almost pass out every time. And it's just like, what? Like, it's crazy to think that another person could make you feel that way and do that much damage to you, that you could forget to do something that's so natural, you know? And so that was another story that I just kind of just, you know, took and created poetry. I feel like I did that to a lot of my classmates' stories, just made art, you know, out of them, because it was really tough in that class for everyone to share, you know, their stories. And so I felt like I was doing them justice by making art out of them. So.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear this again. I've been listening to this album all day today too. So
thank you.
Here it is. Let's play a little clip from this song called Breathe. Check this out.
And then with little grace, a sliver of night, the night, tarry. dances again. Maybe tomorrow I can.
And that was a little clip from the song Breathe. Yeah. All right. Man, we're just humming along through this album. All right, here's what is this is the title track of the album, of course. It is the title track, The Red Balloon. And I did hear some of the background. We're going to start with you, Patavian, on this one, because I did hear a little bit of the background story on the interview that you did on Danny's podcast as well. But I want you to start this one off and share the story of the background of this.
So the Red Balloon, this song is actually about me. When I was 3, I was put into foster care, and it just was it was a last minute thing. I wasn't supposed to be in there, but I was supposed to be going back to California, and that didn't work out, and they needed somewhere for me to go, and they put me in foster care, and so while I was in foster care, I was just in there by myself. My brother didn't come with me. And so I was just waiting like for somebody to come get me, because now I don't have my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my father, or my brother. It's just me, in foster care. And so my mother or my grandmother came, and for I think my 4th birthday, either my 3rd or 4th, I either went in when I was 2 and I turned 3, I was 3 and turned 4. I don't really remember, but she brought a balloon for me, and I thought that I was going home that day. I'm like, you're here, let's go, let's get out. And it wasn't that day. She had to leave, and I just was like, how much longer am I gonna have to stay here? Is anyone ever gonna come get me? And so that was really tough, because even as a toddler, you're watching people come in and out and in and out, and it's like, when is it gonna be my turn? Am I gonna be in here for a long time? I have no grandparents, I have no parents. That's how you feel, and you don't know that they're on the other side working to get you out. And so that, that's what that one was about. I think the hardest thing for me was just being separated from my brother. It was like my grandparents already had my brother, and I was left with my father. And so then we got reunited, and it was like, oh, you're here, we're together. And then I got ripped away, and I had to go back to LA, and that didn't work out. I'm in foster care, and now I don't have him again. And I think it was like the most traumatizing and most devastating thing that has ever happened to me in my life. So that's where the Red Balloon comes from, because I think that it has, like, that moment in my life has really influenced so much in my life, the way I parent and my character and just my fears and just everything about me. So that's what that's about.
Is it a little too personal to ask how you ended up in foster care? What was the circumstances?
Oh man, I don't know like the 100%, like the full story, but like it had to do with state benefits. And like in order for my other grandparents to get state benefits, they needed proof. They were like being audited or something. I don't know. And then before I got there, they disappeared, they ran, and then I got caught up in the middle of it. And at this point, I can't go back to either one of my parents. My mother, she picked up and left like in the middle of the night. So they were like, well, you're not the legal guardian, so they can't come back to you. They have to, the law says this and this and this. So we have to put her in foster care until you legally go through these steps to gain custody. And thank goodness the judge and whoever was behind all of that, they knew my grandfather, because they almost didn't get me. They were almost like, she's about to be in the system forever if we don't just kind of push this along. So I was one of the cases that they kind of pushed along, like, listen, George, we're just gonna let you have her. Just sign this real quick and we're just gonna let you have her. And so I got really lucky.
Yes, that's definitely. Again, for those just joining us, we are being joined by Patavian, who is the granddaughter of George Clinton. And of course, she has also performed with Parliament Funkadelic. And she's also married to this illustrious musician, the gentleman that's behind her, Mr. Danny Bedrosian, who is the keyboardist for Parliament Funkadelic and has been for many. How many years have you been playing keyboards for Parliament now?
22 in the band.
Oh, wow, I was a year off.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. That's
my life. Literally half my life.
All right. So did you want to share anything unique about this track, Danny, before we play?
Just that it is certainly a unique track. I mean, it was definitely written for a rapper initially. And I had a very specific rapper that I had asked to write some tracks for. And this was just one of them. But it had such a melodic little chorus part. And it kind of reminded me of like, it was almost like Eurythmics with like kind of like a more modern trappy kind of thing on it. And like the tempo is it's like a weird tempo for the beat. And so like I wanted to kind of make that the title track to kind of set it apart from the other songs and give it its own feel.
Yeah. All right, here it is. There's a little clip of the title track of this, The Red Balloon. Here we go.
She rocks back on her heel, 1, 2, 3, then up on her toes and into the car. This was small and gray and quiet. The cars, they always come. The cars, they always come. But the cars don't come for me. Whoa.
Man, get a look. Yeah, okay. All right. I actually was able to hear a little bit of Bernadette Cooper in that spin on the end there. That little Madamex climax type of vocal sway there. You got all right. This is really cool that you guys were able to put this together, just the two of you, because I mean that must have definitely helped with a lot of the
like the introspective nature and the kind of like working together and being able to like really go through a number of different feels and styles and moods. Yeah, it really helps when it's sort of just two people doing it that are so close as we are too. Like we're able to kind of do it subconsciously and move through, you know. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean I could tell that, you know, the focus was not just, you know, hey, let's put music to poetry. That I could tell that there was a lot of thought process in you know, being able to also, you know, capture the emotions of what's being said. And it was just kind of like, you know, not worry about it sounding like this or sounding like that. It's like, let's make sure we appropriately capture whatever it is that you're writing about, which is, yeah, it kind of definitely helps with the storytelling part of it too, which is, you know, one of the reasons why we want to kind of go through these tracks. All right, you only got 3 more to go. Next one is Stained Glass. Tell me a little bit about that. Whoever wants to start.
This is my favorite. It's my favorite one. Of course, nobody else gives a damn about it, but it's my favorite one. And it's like, it's got this like proto-classical thing that I really like. You know, PFunk would do a lot of that stuff, like the Bernie Worrell influence stuff that has that kind of classical vibe sort of in it. You know, the Bach kind of feel, Chopin kind of feel, or, you know, and so it definitely exudes that. It wasn't my favorite when we started it, but when we finished it, I was like, oh, this is my favorite one. I just like the emotion of it. I like the way it moves. I like the moods of it. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that one. I'll let Patavian say the rest.
This is another one that I wrote on the road, and it was another one of those songs that was kind of just talking about how difficult road life was for me, but specifically the difference in like my relationships with people off the road and then my relationships with people on the road. That was not so easy for me, you know, because I I did everything I could to like not be in the band. Like, no, I'm not going to go on the road. I'm not going to go on the road. And I had family members and brothers and cousins who were already in the band. And then by the time I got there, I kind of thought that the way things would be with people and my relationships with people would go one way. And then they did not go like that at all. And I got to see people in a different light. And I was kind of talking about my fragility, like in those moments and at that time. So.
All right. Very, very cool. Let's take a listen to this little clip of Stained Glass. Check it out.
All the pieces had their place, my place. You were to me by memory, picturesque and dressing. Now you sift through my fingers like the driest of sand before. It was long, so long ago when you needed strength. You needed like my strength, my life, but your frame is vacant now.
Yeah, it's a little clip of Stained Glass. There's going on. It kind of, that clip was probably the first clip out of them that was maybe a little bit of a disservice because we kind of came in on a roundup, but you guys will get it. Let me just say, you guys can pick up this album. You probably have seen it scrolling across the bottom, but I'll also share it for you as well. You can go to funkatopia.com/Patavian and you'll actually see we've set up a page here that's got the album cover. It tells you a little bit about the album as well. And you can actually pick up the album and the poetry book as well. And if the payment option down here, it's funkatopia.com/Patavian. So if you're interested in this album, that's where you go to check it out. Yeah, Lisa says I really like this one. Love the old school PFunk vocals. Yeah, it's yeah. Susie is a fan.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about, we got two more to go. What about You Won't Say Nothing? Now this one is, this one's a cover, right? So tell me about this one.
Yeah, it's a cover. So I did an album that was like for just my Patreon patrons only, and it was made up of like P-Funk covers, mostly from the Northern Soul era. And it was an album called Dr. Music. And I worked with a few guys in the band on it. Of course, Patavian is really the main person who I worked on with it. And who else was on? Lige, Gabe Gonzalez, Benny Cowan, Garrett Scheider. There's a few people that helped me with it. And this was initially one of the tracks on it. And we ended up keeping it and saving it for Patavian's album. Because it's written by her grandparents. It's written by her grandfather, George Clinton, and her grandmother, Vivian Lewis, who went by Tamala Lewis, and that was her like stage name, and had, you know, a few very well-known Northern Soul singles that are highly sought after 45s from the 60s. And this is probably her most famous one, You Won't Say Nothing, that featured her and George singing, and, you know, that they wrote together. And I thought that'd be a fun one to do, you know, and this is the only song that has one other person on the album other than myself and Patavian. That's Lige Curry, great bass player from Parliament Funkadelic. He played the bass on this track.
All right, Patavian, do you have anything to add before we play this clip?
I mean, he summed it up very nicely, but it is an honor to be able to sing something that was, you know, written by my grandmother, because I don't really remember her. I think she passed away when I was really, really young. So to be able, and I'm not really familiar with a lot of her music. So when I did this, it was definitely an honor.
All right, let's check it out. Here's a little clip of You Won't Say Nothing. Here we go.
You won't say yes, no, won't say no, won't say nothing. Either say you believe me or you release me. Please say something. But you won't say yes, no, won't say no, won't say nothing. Either say you believe me or you release me. You say something. You won't say yes. No, no, won't say no. No, 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 no.
And that was a little clip right there of You Won't Say Nothing. Man, that's really, really cool. I mean, I love when you can dig back and, you know, rehash and revisit some of these old classics that, I mean, I didn't even remember hearing that song until I had to like re-listen and it's just old classics. And of course, who better to bring out the old classics than the documentarian of Prevalent Funkadelic, Danny Bedrosian, of course. All right. Now, I didn't understand the title of this. This is the last track on the album, but the name of the track, the name of the track is Forever Never Ended at an R.
Hmm.
Is that the full title, or did it get cut off? Or I'm trying to figure out the meaning of this title. Help me out here.
That is the title of the track, and the word forever, the last letter is R.
Okay. So, but explain to me what I got that part, but what is
So the word forever literally ends at R, but forever, the concept of forever, it never ends. So I wrote this song when I was 15 years old. You know,
okay.
So this was me trying to be like, poets write like this and love sounds like this and it feels like this. It was supposed to be like the most dramatic and complicated, like this is the beginning of my poetry writing. So I was trying to make it be like so very like poetry is this.
Got it. All right.
But they saw something in her from a very young age, though. They were seeing, I mean, she had clever wordplay, much like her father and her grandfather and her grandmother for a long time. So I think this kind of like hearkening back at that. But this is the other one this is Patavian's other favorite on the album. And I remember when the final mix, she listened to the final mix. And, you know, I had to run these mixes by her, you know, like if she wasn't happy with anything, I was going back to the drawing board. And that was a big part of the 4 to 6 months of final mixes and mastering. And I had her listen to it in the headphones, I had her listen to it in the speakers and listen to it on these speakers and in the car. And, you know, you got to get all the different experiences. And she listened to the final mix of this one and she wept, you know, and she was crying. And I was like, okay, we got it. You know, that I knew that we were in with that one. And this was another one of those tracks that was initially for somebody else, but I kept the piano and then changed the arrangement and redid the whole arrangement for her with these effects and the little bass and the things that are going on in there. And so, yeah, I like it as a closer. You know what I mean? And it's one of my favorites too. But you know, I remember her feeling really, really strongly about this song, and so I felt like it was really appropriate to close with.
All right, let's listen to the clip of the final song on this album, Forever Never Ended at an R. Check it out.
And wish to never, ever exhale. For if this separation is all too together, when your eyes fall, I would drift and grow weary in reality and hope that you wake me not of a 4-letter possibility. Thoughts of hindrance from this fantasy uprises a bland vomit of non-existence. Words can be so.
And that was a clip of Forever Never Ended at an R. That's it. We get it. We made it through the whole entire album. Listen to the little man. And I just want to say, you know, thank you guys for coming on here and kind of, you know, sharing this journey. This album has been kind of, you know, from what I remember was like 9 years in the making, or it's some kind of crazy. I know you guys finally started putting the stuff together like around, you know, pre-COVID or whatever, but man, that's just incredible. And what is the one thing, I'll let each of you answer this question before we cut you loose. What is the one thing you kind of want people to take away with this album? Because there's really a lot. There's a lot here, because there's a lot of background for you, Patavian, with all the, you know, the trauma and,
Yep.
you know, kind of having to go back and relive some of those
Yep.
stories too, which has got to be tough enough. And then on top of that, Danny kind of sitting down and trying to capture everything that she wanted. So I'll let each of you kind of, you know, tell people what you want them to walk away with this album.
You want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I think this album for me really was about just survival. You know, all of the trauma and all of that stuff. I just kind of hid from it for so long, and that's why I didn't want to put anything out. I didn't want to turn the poetry into anything. And so when we finally made this album, it was like, all right, you need to face it. And just allow it to be beautiful, because it can be beautiful. And I think that this was like one of the first times Danny really showed me that you can take pain and trauma and tell a story in a beautiful way. And as you can see, a lot of the music doesn't really, you know, the tempo and the flow of the song does not reflect the actual story at all. And so it's just survival and you know, just coming out of it on the other end with something that's beautiful. I really want people to, now that they know what a lot of these songs are about, to just know that you can get through it and you can come out the other side with something very positive and something very beautiful. So
Pretty awesome. Danny?
It's hard to follow that up. You know, one thing I will say is, when I, you know, started compiling what the music was going to be on this album, one thing I did want to focus on, and one thing I do tend to focus on, is unless I'm being told otherwise, to make it as original and unique and special to the artist as it can possibly be, and to give people something that they're not attuned to. To give people something that they're not maybe ready for, and to give people something, a taste of something that, oh, I didn't know I'd like that, but I do. I don't want people to always be comfortable. And then I'm trying to make AI's job as hard as possible. So I want to create original, organic, interesting, weird when it needs to be, palatable when it needs to be, impactful as often as possible music that the world can take and put in their pocket and think about when they need to think about it, and put in that special place for when they need it, you know.
Yeah, and I think you did all of that effectively, because it took me a couple listens to kind of, the first listen through, it's kind of like you're like your guard's kind of up, so you have these preconceived notions about what you're going to hear and how melodies and things should be, and then as you kind of let that wall down and just kind of absorb it for what you guys are doing, it creates a totally different experience. So yeah, I think you accomplished it well.
No,
and let me
thank you so much.
And again, it's an honor to have you guys on the show, and the album is super cool. If you want to pick up the album, it's been scrolling there at the bottom, funkatopia.com/Patavian. And I think I saw a question here. Ken Jerome just joined, said, where can we buy it? You can buy it right there, funkatopia.com/Patavian. You can't stream it right now. I think you're trying to keep the money out of the streamers' pockets right now at this point, right?
Yes, it will eventually be available. I mean, you can get it digitally from us. It's not available via any streaming services yet. What we've been doing, and what I've been doing, my model for the past few years with our independent releases, has been to sort of give credence to the Patreon first, and then physical market second. So now we're kind of pushed into we're doing the physical market now, and it has been selling very well, I'm happy to say. And pretty soon, you know, probably in the next couple months or so, it will be available on streaming services. But right now, because I have a lot of touring coming up, we're promoting this album on the dates. Can I push the dates too, Christopher? Is that possible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So Secret Army, my trio, which is myself and Lige Curry and Benzel Cowan, we're all the rhythm section of Parliament Funkadelic. We're going on the road doing some Southeastern dates this weekend, right? Coming weekend. We got Friday, February 21st is at Must Be Nice in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then Saturday, February 22nd is at District Live in the Plant Riverside District in Savannah, Georgia. And then Sunday, February 23rd is at the Inglewood Lounge in Nashville, Tennessee. So, yeah. Oh, and if I can say one more thing, the 20th, coming up even before that, I'm doing a lecture about the book, the authorized P-Funk song reference, at the Fall for the Book Festival in Fairfax, Virginia, at noon at George Mason University at their library in the reading room. And I'll be doing a lecture all about the making of that book and the history of P-Funk and all that stuff. So you guys can check that out too if you're in the Fairfax, Virginia, DMV area. So
Yep, there it is. And that link is still available, funkatopia.com/Danny. And it will take you right to the Amazon page to pick up this amazing book. If you have interest in the history of P-Funk, surprisingly, even though this book is very, very thick, he barely really scratches the surface, and he knows good and well. He knows good and well that's the case. If you really want to get like some of the core history of Parliament Funkadelic and some of the discography and stuff, this is the important part, the authorized P-Funk song reference. And I'm glad that you finally got this album out, Patavian. That's really, really cool. That new album is called The Red Balloon. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm round of applause for the one and only Danny Bedrosian and Patavian and her brand new album, The Red Balloon. Thank you guys, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
thank you, Christopher. Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate you.
And I will maybe I'll see you on Friday night. I'm still here on that fence, but if I can figure somewhere to stay in Charlotte down that way, I don't necessarily need to stay. It's one night. But I'm doing what I can to make it out to the show. It's only like a 4-hour drive, so it's not like, or 3.5-hour drive. It's not that bad. So
Okay, nice. Oh, we'd love to see you, man. Come on through. I know you'll love the show.
yeah, put my name at the door.
Okay, I got you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Bedrosian and Patavian, thank you guys so much. Again, funkatopia.com/Patavian to pick up that album. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Oh man. See, and that was just the start of the night. So we want to make sure that you got a really big, a nice taste, because I was going to have them on and kind of talking about the album, but I really felt like you needed to experience that album, just kind of playing pieces of it, because it is definitely an album to absorb for sure. I hope you guys aren't tired. Are you guys tired? You bet you shouldn't be tired, because again, this gentleman has become a regular on the show, and we're going to welcome him back. So we're going to go through some music news, because there's some things we need to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, the illustrious, the man himself, the one, the only, the king, Michael Bland's in the house.
Yes. 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 Indie face. Yes.
Right up there, man.
Oh man. I'm such a clown. What's going on, man?
How you been, man? How you been?
Good, man. I mean, lately you've been catching me with nothing to do on Tuesday nights.
See, see, now I've got to add you to the payroll. See, that's what's happening, man.
Hey, listen, I don't mind a little love offering, Mr. Christopher.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to do that.
The reason I'm sitting here is because I'm not earning at this moment. So I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. Just email me your Cash App or whatever, and let's have
PayPal, no problem.
New co-host of Funkatopia, Michael Bland's in the house.
Don't make it official, because I won't be able to make it next week. I got rehearsal, but
whenever you can make it, whenever you can make it, it's an honor for sure.
Yeah,
man, let me just tell you, it's always cool to have you on the show, because you're such just a a very, very deep well of knowledge, man. And it's really, really cool to have you on. So, and I knew some of the topics I was going to be talking about tonight that you would probably have definitely some opinions about some of this stuff for sure.
Yes. Sure.
Well, let's just start off with some innocuous stuff for sure. Did you happen to watch the 50th anniversary SNL special?
I believe so. Came on, and I think I was in and out of consciousness for for most of it. I mean, some of it I was really into, and I do a lot of channel surfing lately, so I probably missed something important, but I don't know. I got the gist of it. What? Yeah.
I get it. Lisa says your volume's a little bit low. I don't know if that's
low. Okay. Yep. Hey. Okay. I just turned it up, so maybe.
That's okay. I have headphones on, so it sounds fine to me.
Yeah, me too.
Well, if you missed it, Miley Cyrus and Brittany Howard of Alabama Shakes did a cover of, pretty faithful cover to "Nothing Compares to You." You did catch this part?
I caught the end of it. She was hollering by the time I turned the channel.
So who was hollering? Brittany?
No, Miley.
Miley, yeah. See, okay, here I respect Miley Cyrus. I respect, her career and everything that she's been through, and that she's kind of managed to she definitely understands marketing, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's pretty undeniable that you might not like her voice, but she's got some voice, man. She's a strong singer. Miley is.
Yes, she is. Absolutely.
She's rough and tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with her singing voice at all. It's just.
What's the problem? What's the problem, Christopher?
I guess her speaking voice is just a really unusual speaking voice. It's what it's
that sort of thing. She has a really cool.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just this deeper type of, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, that's cool, man. I mean, but listen, Miley's just strong in the game, man.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
not to be underestimated. I actually had the pleasure of playing on one of her hits, a song called 7 Things.
Really?
Yeah, the 7 Things I Hate About You. It's kind of pop but punk rocky. John Fields, my good friend John Fields, who's most famous for producing The Beautiful Letdown by Switchfoot.
Oh,
we also worked on a record called what was the name? The Handler by Harmar Superstar. We worked on that together. We worked on several records. Anyway, he went through a run once he started producing the Jonas Brothers. Hollywood Records started sending him Demi Lovato and Miley and this and that, and so I'm in a lot of places I wasn't supposed to be because of him.
Let me tell you, I'm glad you mentioned. We kind of gave a little last time you were on, I think, or maybe it was 2 times ago. We did a little bit of a love fest for XTC.
Oh yeah,
I think there needs to be, and actually, I actually got you a gift. I actually bought you something. I may have to. I don't want to hold it until April, but I did. What I saw something, and I said Michael has to have this, and he probably doesn't have this. But we'll actually see. It is. I bought you a copy of Wasp Star from XTC.
Whoa!
I don't know if you've ever heard this album. This is one of their later albums, but it's actually really fantastic, and it's Wasp. It's basically Venus. It's basically Venus, Apple Venus Volume 2. I think is because there's like a subhead. It's Apple Venus, but it's Apple Venus Part 2. It's called Wasp Star, and I said I'm going to pick this up for Michael. So the next time I see you, don't let me forget to give this to you because I got
absolutely, man. Yeah, no, I mean there's not a bad record by XTC. They're all brilliant. I mean, I haven't, because they're so dense musically. I haven't heard all of their records really. I mean,
they got some good stuff.
My friend John Fields, he kind of is responsible for me kind of knowing about them, and not only that. He actually, back before the Information Highway was such a thing, I think Andy Partridge did there was a thing like a Q&A online, and he actually pitched my name for. He's like, he said, I sent Andy Partridge a message, saying he should hire you for to play on one of their records since they have a guest drummer almost on every album, as at that by that time. I was like, okay, and somehow my name, because of that, my name made it into like a book, like an autobiography or something, some sort of book about XTC. But it called me Michael Blinn, I think, like BLEN or something. Like I made it in the book, but they messed up my name, so nobody knows.
Oh, man. Well, and the reason why I bring that up was because I also feel like at some point in time in the near future, we need to do a little bit of a love fest for Switchfoot.
Well, then we have to have John with us.
Yes, absolutely. Because
for both, for XTC and for Switchfoot.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a special to kind of talk about this, because I not only do I love Switchfoot, but you specifically mentioned The Beautiful Letdown, which is probably they're actually, I don't know if that tour is over, or maybe I think it just ended, but they actually toured because it was the 25th anniversary. Is it 20th or 25th anniversary of that album? And I saw it here in Atlanta, and they played that album in its entirety. And I don't know if there's anybody, the chat room seems unusually quiet. Do you agree? It's like,
I hadn't noticed. I guess it's just
like nobody. Yeah, okay. Just making sure you guys
nobody cares about it.
Everybody okay? Everybody all right?
We can talk about Prince. We can talk about Prince. I talk about Prince every day with somebody.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but that's another reason why I like Michael on the show quite a bit, is because we're the same age and we kind of geek out on the same styles of music, because it seems like we've been in like really similar musical patterns.
Yeah, it seems like the better we get to know each other, it's like, yeah, man, okay. Now I'm figuring out why we have such a thing happening. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I do want to ask you about this. Let me see if I still have this page up, because I happen to okay, good. Kate says we're here listening intently. Good. I happen to stumble upon a song that apparently you performed on that I was not aware of, and I'm not exactly sure how I went down this rabbit hole, but let me see if I can pull up the screen. It is a track that you wrote with Prince called No Cones Allowed, that I guess was supposed to be used in the movie The Coneheads. This is a page from Prince Vault. And I was just like, I don't even know where the song got mentioned. Oh, it was on a Prince Vault daily thing, and it says today they were recording No Cones Allowed, which was apparent, according to Prince Vault, it was a track that was written for the movie Coneheads. Since we're talking about SNL too, but it was not used, and I guess it just kind of just sat. Do you remember the song at all? It says you were probably on it.
Okay, but it's no, I honestly don't.
I
don't remember anything about it. What I do remember about the Coneheads, they referred to us as blunt skulls, and I always thought that was funny.
All right, there you go. So, known codes. Yeah, I would have been interested to at least hear what the lyrically, because here's the other thing too with Prince. Whenever he wrote songs for movies, he didn't really, with the exception of Girl 6, he didn't really typically do a lot of I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like he didn't write things specifically for necessarily the film. It may just like, all right, let me get the vibe for this. All right, I'm just going to just write this song to kind of accompany whatever this track is. And I found it interesting that the song was entitled No Cones Allowed, which is very specific to the title of the movie. So it's like, it seemed like it was really specifically written for that movie, which was kind of a little bit outside of the realm.
So you think Prince might sometimes go like, oh, I got something for that, and give him something out of the vault or something?
Yeah, it seems like that most of the time, but I could be wrong.
That could be, but I mean, we know that he wasn't allowed to phone it in on the Batman soundtrack because Tim Burton just shot down probably, I don't know how many songs. Prince is like, I just kept writing, and he'd say yes, no, so there is that. He could cater to a particular purpose. Of course he had it in him, he just was defiant. But I will say about Girl 6 that Tommy Barbarella brought in the theme song.
Did not know that.
He worked up the music, and I think either Prince wrote the words and the melody. They wrote that song together, and I think it also caused him a lot of it caused Barbarella a lot of legal acrimony, because at some point there was like a legal battle about Girl 6 and like who wrote what. I'm not sure exactly, but I do remember him complaining about having to pay for a lawyer, and he was just trying to get in touch with Prince to solidify to get somebody to confess to this is the process, this is how this went down, and to let him off the hook. Like he got like blamed unjustly for something, and it ended up costing him,
Really, I haven't heard this story.
you can't hear everything.
Right, yeah.
I'm not even sure I'm supposed to be telling it, but I do know that he got the short end of the stick on that. And I guess that was the first time in my life I was happy that I didn't, I was not embroiled in a writing situation with Prince.
Yeah, glad I was out that day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Joni asked, I don't know about this question. Since Michael was around at the time, can you please clear up if Disney's Power line was indeed inspired by Prince, and did Prince watch it?
I don't even know
what that is.
Sorry, Joni. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what Disney's Power line is. That doesn't even sound familiar. I mean, they have a lot of weird. I mean,
Disney. Yes. I don't have a constructive answer for that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I understood. We got a couple just pop things to kind of get out of the way. Happy 60th birthday to Dr. Dre. He turned 60 today. Happy birthday. I mean, let's face it. Eminem, NWA, obviously, Kendrick Lamar, 50 Cent, The Game, Snoop Dogg, Nate Dogg,
unimpeachable,
Warren G, Anderson .Paak, Beats headphones. I mean, there's like so many things this man has touched.
Yeah, but how is it that he still, when you put him in a suit, he still looks thuggish, ruggish? He doesn't look like he's a refined person. It looks like he's trying to be something he's not to be in this picture. That's okay.
Yeah, I know. I always thought that I thought it was a good portrayal of him in the film and stuff, because he never really was.
Yeah, it wasn't really that he was doing what he needed to do to get what he needed out of the world. I got it.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. I mean, but unimpeachable, man. Are you kidding? Dre is one of the greatest of all times. No one can dispute that.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's just a master. I mean, just a man. And also another congratulations to the one and only Martha Reeves.
Well, right.
Yeah, she's Motown legend Martha Reeves, Dancing in the Street, Heat Wave, Jimmy Mack, Nowhere Around, all this. So, she is 82 years old, and she finally got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And obviously in this picture is William Stevenson. He's a producer, Smokey Robinson, Berry Gordy, and Stevie Wonder. Let me get a little bit. First off, anytime that they can take time to honor somebody that deservedly so needs to be honored, that's a great thing.
Sure.
But do you kind of feel like, I don't know what the whole process is with the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but I do know that you have to pay, if you get one, you have to pay $50,000. And I think that's for the star itself, them closing off, whatever it is. Do you kind of feel like that part of it makes it a little bit more, do you kind of feel like it's more like a sham type of thing? It's just kind of like, if you have the money, you can get one type of.
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody. Well, there are certain awards in life that you don't have to earn; you can just pay for. I'm not saying that that's what this is, but yeah, I feel like it's kind of a trap. I mean, you remember when Jim Carrey was on the MTV Music Awards stuff, and he was kind of being sarcastic about how they build these events so that they force you to show up out of a sense of guilt or excitement. Like it's all a trap.
Right. Yeah.
It's all a trap. It's a trap to, somebody's benefiting from it monetarily, clearly,
Yeah.
because well, there you go. I mean, some people even got to pay.
I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. You
Yeah.
had to. Now, obviously, Prince returned it down. I think they kind of offer it to you, and if you accept, you have to come up with $50,000 to pay for, I guess, the whole process or whatever. And I'm sure that's not it. But you know, I always wondered. Lisa says in the '80s it was about $5K. But has it always been a pay per play thing on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Like, did Cary Grant and Frank Sinatra and all those people have to pay for it? I wonder if it was at one point in time it was just the theater or whatever was there.
That's a good question, but I mean,
them, and then it
yeah.
became like, and
I
then it
don't
became
know,
like,
man.
you gotta pay for this.
I mean,
I wonder if
I don't know how deep you want to go with it, but I'm thinking about like when Hattie Mae McDaniel like got, you know, it's like there's no way she had 5,000, let alone 1,000 probably to just pay on. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I don't care for it. I don't think that's cool.
Yeah, I think. Well, Suzanne says, I've heard that some fan clubs paid for the stars. Yeah, that would be acceptable to me, I guess. But it's still the fact that you have to pay for the award. It seems kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yes, exactly. I mean, it's almost as bad as we're all winners. Like, you know how when the dynamic changed in elementary school and there were no real winners anymore. Like we're going to give a ribbon to everybody. And yeah, so it's like when you open access, it takes away the privilege, I think.
Yeah. Lisa said,
I just said something profound, actually. When you take away access, when you open access, you take away privilege.
Right.
Is what I said. So yeah, I think it's one of my favorite quotes, and I don't remember who said it, but they said, whatever's for everybody isn't for anybody.
I wonder if I don't know if Ken Jerome Harvey is being serious, but he says, Mr. C, remind us again who Mr. Bland is.
Oh, it's all right. I ain't nobody special, Ken Jerome Harvey. I'm nobody, man.
That is a lie. This is.
I'm just taking up space. What happened was you missed your cohort. You missed Jeff, and you've been talking to me more than him lately. And now I've become your surrogate. I'm your surrogate friend now. I'm your real friend, man. But yeah, it's.
This is the legendary drummer Michael Bland, who played with Soul Asylum, and of course was a huge portion. Played on many albums from Prince and the new Power Generation. He was a member of the MPG, drummer extraordinaire, the man himself, Mr. Michael Bland.
Yeah, all right. Now I ain't nobody special, man. That's
ridiculous.
I'm just another person running my mouth in the on the Funkatopia hour. Everybody.
Yeah, it's illustrious. Okay, let's talk about this, because this is one of the things I told you about that I was gonna talk. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced who their, I guess. I think what do they call this? I think it's on the slide here. It is basically the nominees for the 25 inductions. So 7, they say 5 to 7, I think is the number, maybe 4 to 7. I can't remember. Yeah, no, it's 5 to 7. So 5 to 7. I don't know how they decide. Of these artists are going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. And the list is Bad Company, the Black Crowes, Mariah Carey, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, Billy Idol, Joy Division / New Order, Cyndi Lauper, Mana, Oasis, Outkast, Fish, Soundgarden, and the White Stripes. All right, so this is an interesting list. No funk on the list whatsoever, unless you consider Outkast, which, thanks to people like Don and Outkast, they really truly do keep funk alive in a lot. So if you're looking at this list, who's your top pick here?
Oh, Outcast, of course. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an AT alien, so
All right. Yeah, no, let's not play around with it. I mean, let me first say that I think I'm not familiar with Mana.
I'm not either. I was just gonna say that. I was embarrassed to say it, but I was like, I have no idea who.
That's okay, man. It's that. Listen, who are we here to impress, man? Hey, hardly nobody even is interacting with us. But I mean, I love Bad Company. You know, I like the Black Crowes. I think Mariah Carey is still incredible. You know.
Yeah, she is. I mean, Outkast is definitely, yeah, they're definitely at the top. I don't see how they don't make it. I mean, if they're putting, Biggie in, no reason that Outkast should not be in this list of that 5 to 7.
Outkast is the coolest. I would keep Oasis out just on general principle.
Why?
It's a bunch of angry Brits, man. It's like who needs that? You know, it's like they don't. I mean, have you seen them in interviews?
Yeah,
they'd rather be snubbed.
They're a mess. They would probably revel in being snubbed more.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I mean, first and second off, that's an old act. They're not Ray and Dave Davies from the Kinks. Those brother acts that used to fist fight on stage back in the 60s. Like, just leave it alone, man. You're never going to be as cool as those dudes.
Yeah.
That's my opinion about Oasis. I'm not saying their work is not quality. I'm just saying you're not who you think you are.
All right. Ken Jerome said, how many make it from the list? It's 5 to 7.
So I got to pick the 5 that I would.
Yeah, pick 5. Yes, let's just see what your 5 is.
I'm so on Billy Idol, but you know what? I was ruminating the other morning. You know a song by Billy Idol called "Hot in the City"?
Yes, I do.
That intro is so cold, man. Like, it just kind of ran through that stranger. That it's so cool. I don't know why it didn't hit me that way when I first heard it, or but it's like, wow, that's really a hot intro. Like, he had like a little kind of soul music sort of angle to his music, but even though it was kind of aggressive, like even like Flesh for Fantasy and you know what I mean, Eyes Without a Face. I was like, he had some smooth cuts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would put Billy in there. Cyndi Lauper is a legend, man, and what a great singer, and what great songs, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, Outkast just cause. Give me a reason why not. You know.
And I see you're going down the list. Is there any reason why you skipped over Chubby Checker?
No, other than the fact that I was just like, yeah, okay, he should have been on already.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I guess, Joe Cocker. Well, yes, I mean, he rates, Yeah, even if the biggest song he ever cut probably was the Billy Preston cover, that "You Are So Beautiful."
Yeah, Joe has got. If you go into, here's the thing about Joe Cocker. All of his hits, all of the big songs that he did were written by somebody else. And that's pretty typical. But if you look at Joe Cocker as an artist in general, even if you look over, he's just, I mean, how is he not in there anyways? I mean, I hate that he's in this mix, but Joe is a rock and roll legend. I mean, it's.
Yes, I'm not taking anything away from him, man.
Yeah.
But you know what? Bad Company. I think that Paul Rodgers is one of the most underrated, singers ever. That dude he's got so much soul when he sings, and he sings like a natural man. He's almost like he's a white blues singer, man, but he's like a white soul singer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, he's singing hard with the band, he's matching them, but he's got something else coming, man.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. I have to agree with that for sure.
Did you see when he was singing with Queen for a hot minute?
Yeah, I did. I remember seeing clips of it. Yeah,
it was incredible, but it wasn't right. I mean,
yeah,
he didn't approach it like Freddie because he doesn't have the same range. But what an incredible singer and reinterpretation of that material. Yeah, man, he was so on with it.
And you people in the chat room can do this too. Pick your 5. Tell me who your 5 is. But Michael, so far you said
Well, I said a lot, but I mean, if you want me to stop conversating about it,
no.
maybe I can.
I'm just trying to figure out where we are on the list as far as who you picking.
Yeah, me too. But I have an appreciation for everybody on the list that I know.
What about Fish? What about Fish?
Well, I have a little less appreciation for Fish just because I don't have a real affinity for jamming. You know what I mean? I don't like to do a jam. I don't like jamming out.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for Fish. I know they've been around for a long time. I could not name one Fish song if you put a gun to my head, because they're very Grateful Dead-ish, which is fine, but I don't there's nothing against Fish. They could be a really fantastic band. I could get into them immediately and be like, oh yeah, I can see why people like them. But I just don't know enough about them really.
Same here. I think Trey Anastasio, he rates. If he's hanging out with Les Claypool, he's got to rate because Les don't play around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
now,
he must be all right.
Yeah. Soundgarden. I mean, Chris Cornell. I mean, it's
incredible. But I'll tell you what, I'm not a real fan, man.
Really?
I think that some of their work is incredible, and I think Matt Cameron, the drummer who plays with them and Pearl Jam, incredible drummer, nice guy. I met him one year at the NAMM show out in LA. But that's not the music I go to listen to for enjoyment. It's like if I go to listen, I'm usually just kind of, I don't know. I'm like, it's puzzling to me the way their music is put together. Wow, what a statement. It's puzzling to me the way their music is put together. I don't absorb it like I absorb like Led Zeppelin or something. Like the thought process is in motion when I hear Soundgarden. With Zeppelin, it's like all heart.
Yeah, I definitely can appreciate Soundgarden. I remember when they came on the scene, their first album was vicious. I mean, there was it's kind of like Metallica's, Ride the Lightning type of thing. It's like, when you get that first album, you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, when when it was grown like in darkness where the world couldn't see it. And then it gets unleashed on the world. It's like, what is that? Yes. Yeah. Ride the Lightning had that same impact on me. A friend of mine, this guy named Willie Murphy, was a bass player. He dressed like Sid Vicious. Like he was kind of like that sort of dude. And he'd come over with his steel tip boots and he'd bring records. He brought the first time I heard the Red Hot Chili Peppers was Willie and also Ride the Lightning. Like he would bring records over to the house and I would just like, whoa. I didn't like everything I heard, but he always had a different kind of style, man. I was like, anybody who's listening to Metallica and the Red Hot Chili Peppers is covering some ground, I think.
Yeah. Have you ever heard Soundgarden song Big Dumb Sex?
I have not.
You would if you
okay.
If you ever get an opportunity, it's one of those songs that's like a shocker. And it was the first song that I had ever heard from Soundgarden, and it's a very intense song. But all right, we got some top fives that people. Oh, well, let's finish talking about. Let's finish on the list.
Well, okay, what's left? Joy Division.
Yeah, Joy Division, New Order. I'm just talking about my specific musical journey. At this point in time, I am hardcore into funk and 80s funk. And I know a lot of my friends that kind of swayed over into that realm of New Order. I was just not there. I was not feeling it when it was happening. I can appreciate it for what it was, but it just wasn't the style of music that I was listening to when it was happening. And I have lots of friends that are into that sound, but there were some bands that came out of that mix that I did like, XTC being one of them. I mean, obviously they weren't really, connected to that, but that style of music, XTC being one of them, Tones on Tail, Love and Rockets.
On Tail. Oh, wow, man. Okay.
Yeah. So like those types. Yeah. So there was like the pieces of that style, but it was different than what New Order was doing. But but they had some great stuff. The Cure was great. I mean,
I got you. I thought you were going a different direction because of the electronic aspect of that music.
Right. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say I dug Kraftwerk. You know, I
Kraftwerk?
even like Devo. You know, that's where I thought you were going to go with it.
Yellow. I like Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
But
bands.
New Order's is that Blue Monday? How does it feel?
Yes.
Oh man, that rolls pretty hard.
Yeah, a lot of their tracks roll hard.
You know what? Also, you know what? Another band that I wouldn't expect to be kind of funky, but a friend of mine is into all that music, and he used to be my drum tech. His name is Icky James. Icky James and I'd get in his truck, and he'd have he'd have Ministry on, you know, and bands like that. I'm like, what is this, man? This is funky, but it's kind of UK. Like, oh man, this is, you know, I'm like, this is Ministry. My whole life, I thought they were like dark and hard. It's like they are, but this, you know, it was like I can't remember the work for love or something like that. I can't remember the name of the song, but it was kind of funky, man. It was like it sounded like somebody like a punk rock guitar player was playing trying to play like Nile Rodgers. He was kind of getting it, you know, like it had a little funk to it, man. I miss when everybody had a little bit of little funk, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Those types of you know, even you know, the harder bands like you know, Alice in Chains, Jane's Addiction.
Sure.
You know, those it was like, man, there's some funk in here. There's just got those elements that kind of, you know.
Yeah, every once in a while they just wear their heart on their sleeve. You know, it's funny because people think that the way an artist, as they present themselves or their art, like it's a reflection of their taste in music. Not always. Right. Not always. Sometimes people are just doing what they sound best doing, or whatever medium they can use to get it across. But they can appreciate other types of music all the way around. You know, Dave Pirner moved to New Orleans partly because of the culture, but also partly because of just how do I explain? It was you know, really like all the way music is played there. Like just like we talked about it a few times, just how people are just sort of so, but they're like incredible. You know, like in Nashville, it's like you can't throw a brick without hitting a really good singer-songwriter. Right. You know what I mean? Like they're on public access and without record deals, without publishing deals. And it's like, that dude sounds like he should be on the radio right now. That's how it is in New Orleans. There's so many great musicians that it's like you just throw a stone, cast a stone in any direction. You'll hit somebody great. You know? Exactly. Yeah.
And there's so many rooted family. We got some top fives here that people have already. I asked you guys to put them up, so let's look at their top fives. Charlotte says Cyndi Lauper, Mariah Carey, Billy Idol, Outkast, and Joe Cocker. That's a pretty strong five.
That's solid. Yeah, I get that. I wouldn't mind that. Do we have any others?
Yeah, we do. Krista Lawler says Bad Company, Joe Cocker, Billy Idol, Joy Division / New Order, and Outkast.
I don't mind that one either. I mean, it's you know, it's a problem when you love music. You don't really, your heart's open to everything. You know.
Lisa says Outkast. She put them first. Okay, that's respect. Chubby Checker, Cyndi Lauper, Billy Idol, Mariah Carey.
Well, that's six, then, isn't it? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I mean, they're going to pick 5 to 7, but I asked you guys for top 5, but that's okay. She was on the fence on one. That's all right. It's all good.
It's weird. It's like you can't really go wrong. I mean,
Dina Danford, Outkast, Cyndi Lauper, Bad Company, Joe Cocker, Chubby Checker, Mariah Carey, and Billy Idol.
Well, she went all the way. She covered the spread.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, she went the whole 7. And then the last one here is Joni Comenzo, who said Bad Company, Mariah, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, and Joy Division, New Order. Now, Henry asked a question here. I'm going to let you answer this. What do you think about people who say rock and roll should be the only music in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
They don't understand the roots of rock and roll.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, listen, the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing has been, to me, I'm going to be honest. I don't know how they pick who they pick. I mean, look, if you look at this list, let me ask you a question. If you look at this list, is there anybody on there that you think I don't get why they're on there? I mean, you mentioned Oasis. Is there any other?
No, I mean, Fish is a little bit of a head scratcher to me because they're not. I mean, some people are kind of niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they serve a certain kind of demographic, and they're not necessarily crossover or like pop. I mean, but the way I would rate it is: do you have a song that's in the Great American Music Lexicon? That would exclude Fish. That would exclude probably Mana.
or Mana or is it?
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know.
I don't know. There's an accent over that A, so I presume that was how you said it.
And
You're gonna find the phonetic.
No, I was actually going to research this question because, and I wasn't going to pretend like I knew, but I did want to find the answer to this question. She said, "What is the Recognition Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Is it based on record sales or popularity or both?" So, what are the
criteria?
Yeah. There you go. What is the criteria? What is the criteria for the rock and roll?
I think, like most awards, what Prince told me one time, he was talking to somebody who was on the Grammy board, and they tried to offer him something honorary or something at some point, and he was like, well, how come I haven't been awarded? What about last year when my, some record he had, it might have been even like Diamonds and Pearls, like how come I was snubbed that year,
Right.
or it wasn't how come I was snubbed this year, but not snubbed a different year, he was saying. And they said, well, that was the year we decided we liked you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's favoritism. There's, involved in the process always. Somebody's always slipping their thumb on the scale, man. That's why I never actually said I don't believe in it, but I kind of don't believe in it.
Yeah, it's all. Okay, to be eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, an artist must meet the following criteria. And I guess it's pulling it from various sites because this is the AI overview. They have to have released their first commercial recording at least 25 years prior to the nomination.
Okay.
Be considered for their musical influence and cultural impact. And the selection process also includes voting. The nominees are voted on by a committee of music industry professionals, academics, and journalists. Fans can vote on a ballot of nominees, and a new class of inductees is announced in May. I don't know what that means, a selection. Some factors that also may be considered: legacy, name recognition, Billboard chart toppers, impact on the world, and inspiration. It's interesting.
Okay. Now, can you put the list back up?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, let's graze them, man. Who on this list is not, one of these kids is not like the others?
Mana. I think this is this may be a cultural geographical thing because they're probably
trying to push Latin, trying to get some more Latin in there. You think maybe it's a DEI situation?
No.
They're pushing that DEI again. See, I never even heard of these dudes. These Spaniards come from where?
Hold on a second. Let me pull up. Hold on a second.
Can you find out what is Mana?
Yeah. Mana is the first Spanish language rock band.
Okay.
And they are
I had that part right. It's Spaniards, yes.
And these are some of their songs. They got quite a bit of songs. Obviously, they formed in 1981.
Okay.
So they've been around for a minute.
I don't want to accuse them of anything, but I've never heard of them.
Yeah, but they sell out places. Somebody in the chat room said they sell out places everywhere all the time. It's just, but you know what? There's a lot of bands that do, like, we could go across the gamut about bands that have not been nominated for this friggin' thing. Jamiroquai.
Wow.
Well, first off, I think I have a screen of this.
Yeah, who doesn't know Virtual Insanity?
Yeah,
that's
right.
What I'm saying is like that's yeah.
This is the ultimate classic rock and roll site, and I'm not going to go through all 145. Maybe like scroll fast through.
America's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
These are bands that are. They named 145 bands that are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that are shockers. Like some of them I didn't even recognize, but sorry, I'm going to go back up. Yeah, let's get down here. Bryan Adams is not in there.
Man,
which
ridiculous.
Which is a shocker. Let me see if I can scroll this up. Yeah, Bryan Adams is not in there. Alice in Chains is not in there. Greg Allman is not in there. What?
That's a crime.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Greg Allman is not in it. America is not in it. You already commented.
Yeah, that don't make sense at all.
Anthrax is not in there. This is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How is Anthrax?
They're one of the big four. They're one of the big four, man. How can you not be in the Rock and Roll Hall? Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, and is it Pantera? The big four.
And it says right here they've been eligible since 2009.
Somebody's got a bone to pick with them.
This is ridiculous. Argent.
You know, sometimes people are left out because somebody's upset. You know that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was a couple examples that Argent is another one. I'm not really familiar with Argent too much, but
Argent. You know who Argent is? That's I can't remember the dude's first name, but Argent is the organist and songwriter from
the Zombies.
The Zombies. Yes. Yeah. And then he broke away and did you know the song Hold Your Head Up. That was Argent with that long organ solo in the middle.
Hold your head up.
Yeah.
Asia's not on. Come on, Asia's not on there.
That's at least 2 big hits. I don't know why they did that.
BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive is not on,
man. They just don't like Canadians. That's what it is.
Bad Company. They're in here. They're in the running now. So
Bad running where they should just hand it to them.
Right. Badfinger.
It was incredible.
Yes, it's great. Beck is not Beck. I can see it. And now he's been eligible since. What does it say he was eligible for? Yeah, he should be in there. He's definitely.
I agree, but I think that it would take somebody a little more enlightened to realize that.
Yes, because
he's not. I mean, he's kind of an agitator. You know what I mean? He's not. Yeah. He's had some big songs, but it's not. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not, I don't consider him to be pop. I think he's just left of center, but he has an interesting taste in production. Like it's kind of hip hop and kind of slacker, and he's got a certain kind of his music has a certain personality to it.
Yeah, the B-52s are not in there. The Black Crow nominated. Obviously, Black Crows are nominated now. Blackfoot's not in there.
Oh wow.
Blind Faith. We're going to go through a little bit quicker. Blood Spears, Blue Cheer. I don't think I know Blue Cheer.
They predate my consciousness.
Yeah. Blue Oyster Cult doesn't even make any sense to me.
Don't Fear the Reaper. Everybody knows Don't Fear the Reaper.
Blue Oyster Cult is just. I mean, John. Come on, now. John
Bon Jovi. Oh man.
Come on, it's just. Yeah. Anyways, Boston. How is Boston not?
It was the biggest selling debut album by any artist in history for the longest when I was a kid.
This is ridiculous.
Oh man.
Brownsville Station, Canned Heat, the Chambers Brothers.
The time. Go. Yeah, man.
That's Joe Cocker. He's nominated. Phil Collins.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I understand that doesn't make any sense as far as like popularity.
Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, I really. It's like, where do you even begin with Phil Collins? He comes from being the drummer in Genesis to being the lead singer in Genesis to being his own solo act. I mean, incredible career.
Who else did Don Henley was very, very similar. He was like
great singer, great drummer, great writer, all of those things.
Yes, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
That's crazy.
That's crazy too. That's crazy. The Cult. I can see they only had like a couple hits, but yeah, I mean.
Firewoman, you're a firewoman. You're the blade.
Roger Daltrey, which the Who's in there, but him as a solo artist, I guess he's not in there. Well, this kind of goes back to now Rogers. Now he was like, why isn't I guess when you're a part of a project, you want both the project and also but Niles was in there for for his own, production work and his own stuff. But Chic should have been there as well.
Oh yeah.
Spencer Davis Group. Obviously,
Steve
I think
Winwood.
I think Traffic is in there. Traffic and Steve Wynn. I think Steve is in there for sure. But this is just another spin of that. Derek and the Dominoes. Some of these just don't make any sense. These are just legendary. Rick Derringer, Devo. There's Devo.
Wow. Devo
Dio.
really deserves their flowers, man.
Yeah.
Dio too.
Ronnie James Dio too. Well, Devo performed on the SNL 50th concert thing. I don't know if you saw that. It was pretty cool.
I did not see. What did they play?
They did not play Whip It, and they did not play no satisfaction.
Okay.
What was the songs they played? I can't even remember what they played.
I'll go back and watch, man. But
Fred Armisen played drums with them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so Fred Armisen sat in on drums. I don't know. Did their drummer pass away? I don't know any of the intimate details.
I don't know. I think it's if it's still Josh Freese, he was probably busy.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Brian Eno, Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Man, this is crazy.
Flaming Lips.
No,
Focus.
man.
John Fogerty.
He built the institution almost with his own hands and bad haircut.
CCR is in the mix, though. I think.
Yeah. But still, man.
Foghat, Free, Ace Frehley. Again, Kiss is in there, but Ace is a solo artist. Jay Giles Band. How was the Jay Giles Band not in there? It's
an American classic. Yeah.
David Gilmour. Again, Pink Floyd's in there. David's not. I mean, some of these are like,
I got you. Yeah.
Artists that step out on their own, whatever. Golden Earring, Radar Love.
That's pretty hardcore too. Yeah.
Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
We're an American band. Grand Funk Railroad's not in there. The Guess Who.
Wow. Again, they might have a thing against Canadians.
Yeah, Sammy Hagar.
Speaking of Canadians. That's two.
Hawkwind. I'm not really familiar with Hawkwind.
I've heard of them, but I think they're a country band.
Oh, it's just a Ginger Baker's project.
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah.
Don Henley, of course, we just got done talking about him.
Yeah, that's insane.
Hole.
Also, what, really? For real?
Humble Pie, Billy Idol. Well, that might get resolved this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In Excess. Come on.
Wow, that's a big one. That's a big omission.
Iron Butterfly, Iron Maiden, James Gang. There we just talked about Jane's Addiction. Jethro Tull.
Jethro.
Jethro Tull has been eligible since 1994. How do you Aqualung into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Some of these people have there's an agenda to consider. Some people are like, you will never be in the, they use people involved in the dais or whatever they call it. They act out their rock and roll vendettas by keeping certain people out. Like I will never suggest you for, they do that, man. I've heard that.
Yeah, I have heard there was a specific story of a specific artist that just came up. It was just like something that was, and it was somebody that just got inducted that I guess overcame whatever that obstacle was.
Yeah, some people are trying to make examples out of some of these people.
King Crimson, Korn.
Come on, man.
Lenny Kravitz. I love Lenny. I think the second that he comes up in nomination, he's got to be. I mean, he's been eligible for nomination since. I don't know. It's been a while. He's been eligible since 2015. So he's been eligible for 10 years.
Okay.
But Cyndi Lauper, there she goes.
Lauper. That's crazy. And Lennox also. Come on. And the Eurythmics. I mean,
right. I think the Eurythmics weren't they in like a few years ago?
Probably.
Huey Lewis, The News. Come on.
That's a lot of hits. That's a lot of memorable music.
Living Color, come on now.
Yeah. Man.
Just stop. That's ridiculous. Love, I'm not really familiar with Love.
I've heard of them. I don't remember much about it.
Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Blinded by the light.
Wrapped up like a douche.
Yeah. What did he say?
They keep saying he's saying deuce, but every time I hear the song, I hear him go douche.
Yeah.
it's
It's one
I
of those
know
rock and roll things. Well, like
Yeah.
maybe like what's his name, Billy Joel, and
Electric.
over like he over enunciates like a moving out.
Moving out.
Yeah,
Electric boobs. Uh, Marshall Tucker Band.
yeah. All right.
Meatloaf. I thought
Yeah,
Meatloaf.
come on now. Yeah,
Meatloaf. Come on. Megadeth. There was another one you mentioned.
yeah. The Big Four. Everybody in the Big Four ought to already be in there, man. I mean, why be the Big Four?
The Meters. Come on now.
Yeah, now no, that is insanity.
That's insanity. Molly Hatchet. Just for their album. They should be in there just for their album covers alone.
They had some different stuff, man. Yeah.
The Monkees. Come on.
Wow.
That doesn't even make any sense. It's just
that's not cool.
there's vendettas happening here. Montrose, Motley Crue. Wait a minute.
No, somebody upset somebody there. I mean, everybody in that band is a troublemaker. I'm sure something happened. Tommy Lee did something. Vince Neil did something. And they're like, "You will never be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame." Some dude probably put that on them.
But just seeing Motley Crue, it doesn't make any sense. They've been eligible since 2007. Motorhead, come on, Motorhead. Mott the Hoople, Ian Hunter, Mountain, Nazareth, New York Dolls,
That's
Night
all
Ranger,
insane to me, man. Night Ranger, Harry Nielsen,
Ted. I mean, Oasis. That's they're nominated. The Outlaws, Pantera. There was a Pantera. You mentioned
another one of the Big Four. Yeah,
Pixie, Robert Plant. I mean, obviously Zeppelin's in there, but again, this is that solo thing that we're talking about. Okay, do they need to be recognized as solo artists? Yeah, I think so. Poison. That's a good band.
If you had hits as a solo artist, you deserve it.
Iggy Pop. Come on now. Just he is rock and roll.
Oh yes.
Completely rock and roll.
100%.
Queens of the Stone Age, Rainbow.
Wow.
Ram Jam, the Raspberries, REO Speedwagon.
That's big, man.
See this, I guess David
Hold on, roll back up. Did I see the Replacements?
The Replacements. Yep.
Okay. Wow. That's really funny.
David Lee Roth, obviously Van Halen's in there, but David's not. Joe Satriani, come on.
He's done the work.
Scorpions.
Wow.
This is ridiculous.
That's big. Yeah.
Slade.
That's big too.
Slayer's big. Sleater Kinney. Okay. I can appreciate that, but I don't see these as like, wow, those are massive snubs.
I'm not really familiar with them, but the Smashing Pumpkins, everybody knows that. Just 1979 alone, man, that song will live on forever. No matter when you put that song on. Some songs are like that. Like they never grow old. You know what? I was on a gig with Soul Asylum maybe like a month after Prince died, somewhere down south. And, I got on stage to like kind of get my in-ears and my mix together. And I heard the DJ, they right before we started the show, he dropped I Would Die For You. And I was transformed, man. I never heard that song that way before. Like, I mean, obviously considering the circumstances and where I happened to be. And it was just like, it was a weird thing, man. It was like, there was a sort of indescribable joy mixed with sadness, man. Like I recognized the power of that song in that moment. Cause it's so simple. I mean, it's embarrassingly simple as a song, like Prince had to be really brave sometimes and just sort of just stand, without any of the accompaniments, you know what I mean? Like some of his songs are kind of direct.
Well, it also depended on the song structure itself, because there's a lot of songs that are very, very sparse, but it's like, when you go to, if you're going to do a revision of it or a version of it, what would it like? For instance, Kiss is a very basic song.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm. But, if you were going to do a recreation of it, I mean, there's 100 directions that you could go, but I think people are so nervous about, touching things that are classics. It's like you can't do too much with it, or else you're going to upset a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I say this with pride. There was a period after Prince fired us where I had to kind of take whatever job I could get. You know how many corporate gigs I was on with some corporate cover band playing Kiss, and just going, wow, it's come to this. I used to play this song in stadiums. Like, in the end, it's the same ministry, it's the same anointing, man. But the problem was nobody ever played it right. So,
Smashing Pumpkins, Sonic Youth, Soundgarden. Well, maybe it might get remedied this year.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Come on, man. Billy Squier, The Stroke.
Yeah, I think ever since that Rock Me Tonight video, I think that was what did him in.
When everybody saw his bad dancing.
Well, it was a little bit much. It was much. It was a lot. Yeah,
listen, you know what though? What I liked about Billy Squier was he sounded like he picked up where Led Zeppelin left off.
Yeah, he's a monster, man.
You know what I mean? Like, even like the drummer in that band, I can't remember his name, but he sounded like John Bonham. I mean, the tones on "Don't Say No," the album, it sounds like a Led Zeppelin record to me.
Yeah, and Stroke is like some hard drumming. It's like,
yeah. Oh man, no, that dude was incredible, man. I think I saw them once live. I saw him once live, and they came through Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah, I've never.
Man, no, Billy Squier. When he came out, I remember somebody saying that guy used to be known as the worst guitar player in Los Angeles. I said, how come they didn't know he could sing like that or write like that? You know,
well, they learned.
Yeah. Don't play in Billy Squier's face now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Steelers Wheel, Jerry Rafferty.
Come on, man. Jerry Rafferty alone, just for Baker Street. Yes. And just for Baker Street.
Stuck in the middle with you.
Either one, man. Both. Yes.
Oh, Right Down the Line, too. I forgot he did that one. Right down.
He was a real one. He was a real one, man. Yeah.
My God, man. Steppenwolf?
What? That's the definition of what we're talking about.
We're to be wild. I mean,
that's a cultural.
Yeah. Come on. Who else is on this list? Steven Stills. Obviously, we already net description. Sting. Come on. That doesn't even make any sense.
Not at all.
Sting. That he's a legend. Yeah. Yes, he obviously was inducted as part of the Police, but Sting by himself definitely. And same with Phil Collins. He's definitely, you proved yourself.
Yeah. He proved he can do whatever he wants to do, and you can't whoop Sting. I mean, you might not like him, but he's going to keep on doing Sting, and somebody is going to.
Stone Temple Pilots.
That's not cool.
Stray Cats.
That's not cool either.
Yeah, that's not cool either. I mean, Brian Setzer is a legend. I mean, that's just not even. Styx.
I love your double take, man. You're funny dude. Styx.
How? Because it doesn't make any sense. It's like some of these are like the second they are up for nomination, it's like a given.
Yeah, exactly. The Grand Illusion, just that record alone, man. I remember Sonny hadn't heard Styx, and I sat at this piano in this in the lobby of an Italian hotel that we used to stay at when we were working over there with this singer named Georgia, who's like the Italian Whitney Houston. We would be in the hotel late at night, and we'd be talking about different records and stuff. And I was like, Sonny, that kind of sounds like Fooling Yourself by Styx. He's like, who's that? I said, man. And I sat down and I just kind of started showing Sonny all these Styx songs in this lobby at like 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And, yeah. And he was like, wow, they sound cold, you know? Sonny.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a music Sublime. I could see that. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
They're on that left to center thing that we keep talking about with like the Sleater Kennies and the
also
band.
Their main dude died, so it's like it's hard to.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. They're still touring. Who's
sure.
Yeah, I don't know who's in their place because
Sublime is big business.
All those stoner festivals where it's just like wherever it's legal, right? Supertramp, come on.
Yeah, some of these are just like
Breakfast in America was like a legendary album. I mean,
so clearly what we've I'll interrupt at this point to say, so clearly what we've discovered is that it ain't no rhyme or reason. It doesn't really have to do with whether or not they're known. or you can pinpoint their contribution. The gatekeepers have their own reasons for who gets kept out. You know, because some of these, a lot of these don't make no sense.
Toto doesn't make any sense. I just scrolled past a bunch that didn't make any sense.
Rosanna, Africa, yeah.
Toto, 3 Dog Night, 38
no,
Thin Lizzy.
Crazy.
I mean,
no, man, no. That's all ridiculous.
It's all ridiculous. I can't even.
Let's move on, man, because now I'm starting to get
upsetting.
mad. I'm getting upset. How could they do that?
It's upsetting.
Oh man.
And I think so. Who was it? What's his name? The guitarist for Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah,
I think when they were inducted, he wore a T-shirt that had all the names of the bands that he felt were like it was a travesty that they weren't in there. It was just like
that's why I like that dude, man, because he really fights for his he really fights for artistry and he has a sense of justice, when it comes to like who's getting what in the music world, Yeah,
and there's some that I know that you probably like. Some of the ones that I are eligible to that I feel like should be on there that weren't even on that list are just ones I kind of feel like were more important to me. XTC, which we continually talk about. Thomas Dolby.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
The Fix. The Fix is
no
more
doubt, man.
But the Fix is ruthless, man.
Let me say one thing about the Fix that probably a lot of people don't know, which is Private Dancer by Tina Turner.
Yep. Jamie West Orm, and
that's the rhythm section of the Fix playing on that whole record.
Yep.
Like that, Roger Davies must have said, like, listen, let's just hire that. Like their sound is hot. I have a vision that their sound is going to work with your sound, and just hired them to play on the entire record, basically. I mean, that's why Private Dancer sounds like a Fix record, kinda.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's got the same. Yeah, it's Jamie West Orm because he had that really distinct rhythm pattern with the way he plays guitar. But I've always been a huge fan. They were like one of the Funkatopians know this about me, that I'm a obsessive Fix fan. I have like it's just because they're just one of these underappreciated bands, very similar to XTC, and that it's just got such a wealth of amazing, really strong, solid material, and they just don't get recognized. Another band like that, King's X.
Oh, come on, man! Now I'm really starting to feel it, because I met Doug Pinnick for the first time at the last gig that Soul Asylum played before the pandemic. Before everything got shut down. We played at the Terragram Ballroom in Los Angeles, and it was sold out. Doug Pinnick came walking through the back door, and I was just like, dude, you don't know how long I've been waiting to meet you, man. The dude's like 70 years old and he's ripped. He looks like he's like 45, man. Maybe. Doug Pinnick, man. The whole band, yes.
The first time I met Doug, the whole band. I mean,
so cold, man.
Ty Tabor is a monster. If you've ever, all I gotta tell you guys, if you ever get a chance to listen to Faith Hope, just pick up the album Faith Hope Love. They've got better albums than that, but Faith Hope Love, and just turn on the song Moan Jam for the most splitting, unfathomable guitar solo from Ty Tabor that you're ever going to hear on the planet. It's like, still to this day, if that song happens to come on in my CD thing, I will stop and I will shut the blinds and I will air guitar that friggin' song to this day.
Here's what's bizarre, man. I remember when King's X came out, and also this dude named who was the guy that he had a record out called Drums Along the Mohawk. Somebody John something.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to think, I was like, well, wait a minute. I thought that guy was Doug.
He had that same.
He had a mohawk
style.
And, and he was a bass player.
Yeah, but because they came out with the first song I think where people recognize them was music. I hear music over my head.
Yeah, what an incredible voice, man.
Yeah, but obviously his voice has taken a toll over the years, and he's kind of been doing a lot of low register songs. He doesn't really do a lot of those songs now. I just saw them recently, like last year.
Okay. Yeah.
But he's got a brand new album out that just came out. He was working with Ted Nugent and Doug Pinnick was working with Ted Nugent, and but he's got it. And I ordered it and I got it signed. Doug signed it. But
Wow,
the first
I didn't hold on. I didn't think Ted Nugent liked us. That's interesting to me.
yeah, he's a rocker. So I mean,
Okay.
you gotta appreciate.
Hey, well, yeah. I mean, if even Ted's into you, then you're doing something right. So I guess I'll look at it like that.
So, but when Doug went to shake my hand, his hand,
Engulfed your hand. Yes.
like,
That dude's got he's got a big grip. Yeah. He's got a big grip.
yeah. So King's X is another one of those. And as I mentioned, Jamiroquai also and Living Color. I mean, it's just those types of bands are just, I don't really think they're. Is Bad Brains in? I think that they should.
I think they might be, actually.
I'm not
sure.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't.
Well, yeah, look at it. After what we just witnessed and read down, yeah, of course. I'd be surprised if they didn't give Ray Charles his flowers yet. My goodness.
All right, so let's move on to this other topic here of Record Store Day.
All right.
So, have you seen the list of the Record Store Day? First off, there's not a whole bunch there. I think I may actually have. I do. I probably have the thing. I'm going to make this big enough so it can actually be seen here. But some of these lists of these artists that are appearing, it seems like there's a lot of greatest hits and reissues of a lot of albums. Something you may be interested in. I don't know if you're aware of this, or if you are, maybe you have some details about what we can expect. But there is one release from Prince on Record Store Day, and it is live at the Glam Slam. So, do you have any idea what this is going to look like, or this is news to you too?
I'm presuming that it's are they releasing a separate audio?
Well,
is it the audio from the box set? Are they offering it separate?
Let me pull it up here. I think it's in chronological order. I'm sure it is. Let me go to Prince here. Oh, Anderson .Paak is he's releasing a single. Sly and the Family Stone, the First Family, live at Winchester Cathedral, 1967. That'll be interesting.
Whoa. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, there's gonna be some cool ones. There are some cool. And have you seen the new Sly Lives documentary yet?
I saw it.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty good.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty good. I agree. And I don't want to jump all over bruh,
Yes.
but I think that I can't decide if the fact that I thought it was too short was a good thing or not. It's like, I think I could probably watch a documentary all day about Sly if I was given the opportunity. But I'll say this: Quest has the access and he knows what to get.
Yeah, and that was my biggest takeaway with him as far as the documentarian is his level of access seems to be.
That's what it is. That's
better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like you apparently can get to anybody. I agree. It was too short. Now, I think it could have been twice as long because as I was watching it, I was texting Dawn Silva from Brides of Funkenstein, and I was like, "Hey, I see you," because she was only in there like a quick clip when they showed him in the studio, and she was kind of walking by, and I was just like, but there was a whole bunch to Sly's story that you just like totally did not pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really. I'll tell you one thing: the fact that David Kapralik robbed Sly blind, man.
Yeah, well, I'll take this down while we're talking about this. Go ahead. Well, yeah, and I also was paying attention to as Questlove was doing this documentary, I was thinking, okay, let me kind of get a vibe as to how he would approach a Prince documentary. Obviously, we're talking a much longer thing where we can kind of expand on a lot of different things, but
sure.
I'm like, how much is he focusing on the negative? How much is he focusing on the drug use, all that other stuff? And it was focused on a lot in this documentary, a lot. And
yes,
but also I guess the difference with Sly and Prince is that with Sly, his drug use and his, incoherency and a lot of the different things was very, very public. I mean, he would, just doing all these interviews high and
Yeah, you see the runny nose on like the Mike Douglas show.
right. I mean, he was like publicly a mess. Now with Prince,
he was very quiet about it. Yeah.
Yeah. With Prince, there was a drug problem there, but it was very private. You didn't see it.
Yeah, and from what I understand, it wasn't like he was taking painkillers. It wasn't for pleasure. It was
exactly
real pain.
Yeah, so it was So it was different side of it. But
what I understand,
would it have been covered in that way? Would it have been, so it's just
hold on. Are you saying what if Prince's the documentary for Prince was to cover that aspect of his? Are you asking how they would handle it, or how Quest might handle it if he was to do a Prince doc?
Right. Yeah. Would it be like I saw the TMZ? I don't know. For those who have Roku TVs, when you start up a Roku TV, it always comes up with this menu, and there's like specials and TV shows and documentaries that are specifically on Roku. Like Kevin Hart has 2 movies on Roku that aren't attached to any. It's like weird, but TMZ did a cover of Prince, did a documentary. I can't remember what it was called, but they kept saying in this documentary, drug abuse and addicted. Just like really using all these hard terms that are just like, okay, time out.
Yeah, people think that other people don't pay attention to syntax, to their choice of words, and read. Yeah, some people know how to read between the lines. I see what you're trying to do here.
Yeah. So, and that was my concern. Is just like, obviously, I'm glad that the estate is kind of getting, and I understand people's push against this. I know we're getting into the Prince documentary territory.
I don't mind, man, because there's still more to say about it.
I think so too. I'm glad that the estate is doing it. I know that people are a little bit upset because of the fact that they're concerned this is going to end up being like a long puff piece. Yeah. And I get that. But I think as fans, we just want the music.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with a fluff piece? I don't care.
Okay. They're going to show things that we haven't seen before. You're going to see behind the scenes stuff that we haven't seen before. You're going to hear music we haven't heard before.
The goal is access. You're absolutely right. The goal is just let's see it. What's all in there? I mean, just the fact that I live with the idea or with the reality that this dude recorded everything I did with him. Like if we were rehearsing, if we were performing, in the studio, I mean, that's audio documentation. There's probably video cameras in there too that we just didn't see.
Right.
But so it's like there's so much of my life just kind of tucked away in that vault. I want to see some of that too. I mean, the Glam Slam thing was really a revelation to me because I was nervous about watching it. And because the band had only been together for a little while, like we hadn't really been gigging,
Didn't look like it.
No, it didn't, did it?
It didn't look like it. Yeah. And Joni's like, please talk about the doc. I missed the live show last week and wanted to catch up. I was screaming.
What is there to say, really? I mean, it's just for me, I side with the estate because one thing I learned in my first marriage, communication is irreversible. Okay. Now, you can sit and ponder and think about it in your head. You know how it is being a married man.
Yes.
You have to really think about what you say before you spit it out there.
Okay.
Because you don't know how your spouse is gonna, you know what I mean? It's like you don't always know how a woman is gonna respond to what you got on your mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll just get shrugged off, and other times it will change the direction of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm thinking. It's like, you know what? They don't, it's like, it's not a thing that you can enter into frivolously because they may change the entire trajectory of what it is they're working on by doing so. It could be great, but it also could be really, detrimental. There's a risk involved, and they don't want to take it, and it's their prerogative to not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I think people, let's just put it this way. There's been people that we've had, we'll just go ahead and say it. I love her to death and she knows it.
Oh, you're going to name names. Okay.
I'm going to name names. I know that Jill Jones is very upset that the documentary didn't come out. And I feel like, and if you visit her socials, you'll see, that she did really speak her piece. You kind of felt like, that their stories aren't relevant. Their stories as they relate to Prince aren't relevant, and that they're being discounted, and that they're not being, I said it last week, and basically what I said was it's this is a Prince documentary. This is his story. It's kind of not your story to tell, but on the same note, I see where she's coming from, because she feels like, this kind of goes, my interactions with him and my experiences with him and everything that I went through with him matter, because it helped kind of shape this part, or it kind of helped shape this part. It's part of the overall story, just like you are part of the overall story. And they kind of feel like, some of the things that are a little bit maybe darker, or, kind of sway negative,
Sure.
Are just being removed. Like, that doesn't matter. And I think that's the overall feeling.
Well, okay. Well, two very important points. If you want to do a documentary about yourself, then do that. You don't have to do that on Prince's estate's dime. You can still tell your story, but they have no responsibility to make access for your viewpoint. I mean, it's not really about her. It's about Prince. I mean, I would say that about any of us. He is the subject. So, we are ancillary. That might be offensive. I don't want to say ancillary, but it's about, I mean, she may have inputted, she may have put things, she may have been a source of something for Prince, but what he did with it is really the subject. We all contributed to Prince's life in some way, shape, or form, but he still is the study. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he still had to synthesize the data that came out of Jill Jones as a person being around him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it had an effect on his trajectory as a human. That is still reflected in his work, I'm sure. So what I'm saying is this: I'm sorry, I'm all sorts of sayings today. What's understood doesn't need to be said. You know what I mean?
Right. Things
It's
unsaid, just basically.
This is not about her validation or her vindication.
Well, and I think the other portion of this too, though, let's look at this way too. To have the vehicle of the Prince documentary to be able to tell your story. If you do your own autobiography, you don't have that publicity. You don't have that ability for more people to be able to kind of see your story. But again, just like you said, it's not your story.
Yeah.
And that's the root of it. And that's definitely the way that the estate sees it, because
none of our names are on the marquee. We're bit players, and how much influence we had on Prince is for Prince to say, and he ain't here to say.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, while she might have a salient point, the facts are the facts, and facts are not feelings.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I mean, I think when you were on the show, I think it was last year when you were on the show, you were mentioning the fact that, you didn't, not like late last year, but you had mentioned that you just got a feeling that this was going to be one of these, the way they were asking questions, that it was going to be like a hit piece, and you kind of stepped away from it.
After John Bream, I talked to John Bream before. I can say it now because he's declared it in public that they told him for that 6 hours. I did an interview with him for something else, and he and I just went off record and started talking about that, and just a myriad of things. Like, he was like, I really felt like they were trying to get him. They were out to get him. They were trying to get me to say negative things about Prince. I think they were really hoping for it because, clearly, there was a certain amount of animosity between, Prince and critics, which is why he didn't like to talk to them very often.
Right. Yeah.
And but John, because he was a local, and he has John's bona fide. He's got clout. He's a real one, But for him, who has said things, not negative things necessarily, but whatever, he spoke his mind his entire career about Prince, and but there's no need for him to, I think anybody so interested in Prince is also a fan. He wasn't doing it to hurt Prince. He was doing it to offer constructive criticism. And Prince was like, I don't need it. Thank you, but no thanks.
Didn't he shoot him? Didn't he Prince shoot him in the face with the guitar from Purple Rain with the
I'm sure all those things happened. One of them I witnessed to a certain degree. He was at the Glam Slam one night, and Prince had his security throw him out. And he asked Prince, he said, why can't I stay? And he said, because I don't want to read another review about Graffiti Bridge next week in the newspaper. So, I mean, they had a relationship,
Oh my God.
They really did. It was more than, he was more than just a critic. I mean, it was, if Prince didn't care about what he had to say, he wouldn't have read his column.
and I did find it interesting. That, when you said that, I don't know if your line of questioning that you received was different than what they received, but I do find it interesting that with your line of questioning, you were like, no, this is obviously a hit piece, but those other people that were interviewed were like, all right, sweet. Yeah, I'm all in. Let's, Yeah,
some people may have had, a good reason to move forward in that respect, and it's like, none of us are good all the time. We certainly have, stories we could share that are, and I try to be real. I don't try to hold back too much, but I'm also not trying, I'm not making an effort to portray Prince in a certain kind of way. Just the truth of what I saw in him, Yeah.
So what was Joni say here? Joni said, the people who claim to love Prince the most, which includes his fans, have the responsibility to preserve his legacy, not Netflix subscribers.
Yes.
He does not need to be the next Tiger King sensation to come and go.
I will say, is Joni a regular attendant?
Yes, she's normally here. She's
very bright. She's astute. I've been checking her comments out as we've been going. And
this is that's just the reality of it. I did pull up the let's go back to the screen because I did want to look at this release that's going to be happening. And I don't know if this is, well, I know that this is part of the Diamonds and Pearls collection, but I don't know how. Okay, anyways, Live at the Glam Slam, if you click on it says it's a 3 LP. This is we're going back to the Record Store Day conversation.
Vinyl, yeah, okay.
And it's going to be on vinyl. And it is going to be released on April 12th, 2025. Obviously, it's the there's going to be 4,000 of them made. And let me see if I can scroll this down a little bit. And it says it's mixed from the 24-track master. The performance clocks in at just over 100 minutes of sweaty, groove-laden brilliance. It's going to be housed in a gorgeous triple gatefold, the 3 LPs on yellow 140-gram vinyl.
Yes. That sounds hot.
Contains 5 sides of music and an etching of the cover of Diamonds and Pearls on side 6.
Okay.
Side 1 is basically the show, Thunder, Daddy Pop, Diamonds and Pearls. Side 2 continues Willing and Able, Jughead, Sacrifice the Victor. Side 3, Nothing Compares to You, Thieves in the Temple, and Sexy MF. Side 4, Insatiable, Cream, the little medley, the Cream, Well Done, I Want You in the Sock medley. Side 5 is 1999, Baby I'm a Star, Push medley, Get Off, and then Get Off House Style.
Oh, yes.
And then the side 6 is the etching of the Diamonds and Pearls cover.
I mean, it's hot, man. I mean, I have to say, and I don't mean to be so, I guess I'm getting less, I'm showing less fake modesty as I get older. I'm just saying what it is. Like, I think it's an incredible testament to a band that was just getting started,
Yeah, well, that man just continues to move, though, man. He's always changing, always moving.
Yeah.
But, So that's the only release from Prince. So I think a lot of people may have been a little bit disappointed, because if this whole process with Netflix and freeing up some of this material that was tied up in the vault is now free, I think people may have been expecting a little bit more on the Record Store Day release, because if you knew this day was coming, it seemed like you would have had something in the can ready to go. But I guess
I think they've probably been embroiled in this, this battle. They probably didn't know what they could do except for that, considering it came out, the plans to do this, to do the Diamonds and Pearls box set, probably predate the agreement with Netflix, is what I would imagine.
Yeah, it could. Well, you could be right. You could be
so
right.
Then they probably had, the clearance to continue to use the audio and whatever, content from it, I suppose, Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff on here.
Yeah.
Sting's got a new one. The Jamaican episode from Snoop Dogg is going to be released on LP. I don't know exactly. Soul Asylum's on here.
Oh, that's right. I was going to say we were. I know the management got at me about something we were going to drop. What does it say?
It says After the Flood, live from the Grand Forks.
Yes. That's a gig that Soul Asylum played at a high school in Grand Forks. They experienced a real flood that year, and but so they did the prom. They did the prom a little later after at a different. I think. You know what? I can't remember the entire story, but that came out a few years ago. It was just laying around in Dave Perner's attic or something. I was like, well, what's that? Oh, I don't know why we recorded this gig. That gig's incredible. And so it was like the Lost Scrolls or something. And
are you on this album?
No, that's Sterling.
Sterling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Soul Asylum's going to be on there. So they've got
Sterling was. I think it's probably Sterling. That's 97. That was probably the last thing he did before he quit and went to work for David Bowie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
We want to talk about David Bowie, man. That's a whole other thing. Somebody said hadn't thought about it. Spike Lee or Antoine Fuqua to direct the documentary. I really actually wouldn't mind that.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't mind James Gunn doing it. I'm just kind of like, let's get this done. Let's get it over with.
Mark Webb, what's going on, Webb? True, Mark Webster's a true gangster, man. I love you with my whole heart, Mark Webster, because you tell the truth, man. Webb is, man, we're homies, man.
Yeah, that's that was Lisa's comment to Spike Lee.
I think those are both outstanding choices. I mean,
yeah. Let's see what happened here. All right, here's a couple of just weird videos. So we're gonna move on to just a couple quick loose topics, and then I want to talk about a couple of things that you have.
Okay, that's cool, man. I mean, you the one who's been sitting here already for
man. I'm good.
Okay.
So I always catch these videos that always crack me up, and they're just kind of just random. I love the ones where you don't see it coming. That's kind of one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of certain comedians that kind of will take you down, and you think it's going to have one punchline and it has another. Those kind of things are funny to me. For instance, there is a guy who does a cooking show, and he just kind of randomly talks. And some of the things that he says are just like, wait, what did you just say? This is a guy who is, when you make spaghetti and it's too big for the pot, do you just put the spaghetti in and then let it kind of fall into the pot, or do you break it and put it in the pot?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. I mean,
well, first off, I don't cook, but with the times I have made pasta, I break it.
Yeah. I don't see a big deal about it, but apparently when you break it, it upsets a lot of real chefs. Like, I've seen Gordon Ramsay lose his mind when he's seen somebody make, pasta that's hard or whatever. He's like, why are you breaking it? Why are you breaking pasta? It's like, okay. This guy is showing how to make pasta without breaking it and exactly the process. But he goes off on a tangent. And it's just like, what did you just say? Let's watch this real quick.
Sometimes you got to help it along a little bit, and you always want to keep track of which side was sticking out, because at the end we're going to compensate. I remember when I was a kid growing up, my friend Justin and I wanted to make a roller coaster, so we started saving money by putting our lunch money in a shoebox. And after about 6 months, we had a couple $100 in there, but it turns out that my friend Justin's sister's boyfriend had found the shoebox and he stole the money to pay for an abortion. Okay, this is looking just about ready. So the first end to go in has already been cooking for 12 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take that.
Okay, I just got to stop. Wait a second. What did you just say?
Wow, man.
What did you just say?
I didn't say nothing.
No, I'm just talking about that guy.
Oh, him. Oh, man. Yeah, I was stunned. I'm like, what? Where is he going with this?
And then he just bails on the story. It's
because he realized he was free associating. He was, oh, wait a minute. I'm about to tell where the body's at. Hold on.
You can't just say that and then move on.
No, man. Yeah, no, he was about to turn state's evidence on himself.
Oh, and then the other thing I saw was this guy happened to be in a toy store, and he's located this thing, I guess, that's made by a reputable company. I can't remember who it is. It's not. It is a legit toy, and he's talking about it like it's just a great, great toy, not thinking about. Just let me just watch this and see what your reaction is.
Okay.
To be young child.
You're jiving, man. That can't be real. That can't be real.
I'm like, it's an ankle monitor for kids.
Listen, man, when I was like probably 5 or 6, maybe I was about 5 or 6. I was over at I lived across the street from a park, and I remember seeing some kid. His parents had one of those like a truss on him, and like and like a leash. And I was like, wow. And that's the thing. And I'm telling you, man. And my thought in my mind at the time was like, wow, this is how white people treat their kids. Like, white people must be different, man. Like, that's
it's that's okay. I have seen. Yeah, there's one time I saw a white lady. She had triplets, and they're boys, and they were bouncing off the walls, and she had them on leashes, and I was like, with those kids, I can kind of see and get it. But and it's also when you're in a busy place like Six Flags or something, where a kid sees something, it's like, ooh, sparkly, and then they're off.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and you're like, oh, where's my kid? So I kind of understand it, but I also understand what you're saying too. It's like, look,
if that's the measure you have to go to keep your kid under control, something is wrong with your parenting technique.
Yeah,
the answer is not a leash. Can we agree on that?
Or an ankle monitor.
Teaching little Jimmy to
I
don't know, to
get used to
the shock treatment. Yeah, I mean, what are you setting a kid up for? A child, what are you setting a child up for if you're already putting an ankle monitor on them? You're setting them up to be a part of the system.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, I wanted to ask you about this because you've been on the show a couple times. You didn't talk about this. Let's talk about this tribute to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh man, there's only a few seats left for both nights at this point. My business manager and booking agent, Stu Pastor, Stuart H. Pastor, and associates. Stu and I've known Stu since I was 15. He's Patty Peterson's husband, and he's also I believe he's related to the Rifkins, to David and Bobby. But he's the one that booked us at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater, and I've never played there before, or if I did, it was many years ago. And I was like, well, how is it? He's like, oh, they'll love it, man. Let's just give them the Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute. And I said, okay, well, I'll follow your lead, Stu. And today we looked at like the seating arrangement. Almost all the tickets are gone. It's that place holds, I can't even remember what the capacity is, but it's like there's only a few seats in the back row, and a couple singles here and there for both nights. I'm just, I'm elated that at least the first time we go there with this, that it's going to be a sold out show. So
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So for those who are listening on audio on Spotify or iHeartRadio, it is tribute to Earth, Wind, and Fire happening at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater in Chanhassen, Minnesota. For
What's
those,
to say that under the musical direction of Michael Bland.
yeah, that's what it
That,
said.
that sounds pretty good to me. My band is called Urban Classic, and we play just as good as we want, Mr. Christopher. And
Yeah.
somebody at the last one, somebody said, "Man, y'all sound better than Earth, Wind, and Fire." Man, I just saw them at the at the county fair. Y'all sound better than them.
So if anybody's up in that area and you want to try to grab one of these last remaining seats, it's just going to be 2 nights, February 28th and March 1st.
Yes.
And you got Tommy Barbarella, yourself on drums. You obviously got UC horns there as well, G Sharp and all that, and JB. I mean,
Mark Lichtai and them. Yeah.
That's going to be a show.
The band's hot, man. I mean, we've been doing this now for a couple of years, so we've got it pretty tightened up,
And of course, we've been talking about this show.
Oh, this show.
The Together show.
I'm telling you, a third of the tickets are already gone, and we only started. I mean, it was just a few days ago.
Yep, that's right. It
was the 11th. We put the show on sale. So it's been a week, and probably there's like 300. I mean, the place only holds 700 people, and this is just February.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
So it's going to be sold out.
Yeah, I still got to get my ticket.
Yeah.
I'm just
really okay. All right.
I'm relying on me knocking on the back door.
Listen, what I was going to say is that if it's a last minute thing, I'm going to make the dressing room pretty much all access. If you want to watch the show from the side of the stage, you just want to mill about, I can get you in the building. I just can't get you a seat.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. I just want to experience it. I just want to bring my camera too, and also get some photography of this stuff.
Yeah, it's a free for all, man. Take as many pictures as you want. I'm trying to circulate. I'm trying to build something here. So I'm welcoming all press, all pictures, all everything, man, because we're going to use it to propel this thing and move forward and out into the world, and remind people just how good Prince's music is supposed to sound.
That's right. And for those who are not familiar with what event we're talking about, have missed the last few shows, we've been talking about the show called Together. It's happening on April 19th. Obviously, this year, 2025. I don't know when you'll watch this video, but it's a tribute to the music of Prince, and it features all former members of the original New Power generation, including Tommy Barbarella, Michael Bland, Levi Caesar Jr., Dr. Fink of the Revolution.
Yeah, we pulled Fink in for this one, yeah.
And Rick from Mint Condition, and then of course G Sharp,
Odell, both from Mint, guitar and bass,
Ashley Commodore and the Urban Classic Horns. It's gonna be happening at the Hopkins Center for the Arts. I will be there. It's not. It's just whether or not I'll be seated or whether I'll just be on the move like all the time.
Yeah. No, either way, I mean, there's a very good chance that something spectacular could happen that night. We still don't know for sure, but we may have a special guest that might be a game changer. We'll just have to see.
I already told you I was coming.
Okay, well then you'll see it. You'll be there. Some people won't.
Oh, I'm not what you're talking about. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay, see, very droll, man. You went over my head there.
Oh my God. Oh man, what a night! Obviously, thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. I know you got practice next week. I know I always invite you. The door is always open for the man, Michael.
Okay, well, much love to you, man. For it, I enjoy talking to you, man. There's a flexibility, like we can go in many different directions, and it doesn't get boring or bogged down. And you know how to conduct an interview, and a lot of people in your field do not. And I'll say honestly that a lot of people don't know how to keep it moving. They don't know how to. It's really in the questions you ask. Like, do they motivate a person to open up and respond? And so you have I don't know how long you've been doing this, but
it's a long time.
You've got it together, bro.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I bought the domain Funkatopia.com in 2004, and I've been the website's been up since 2005. This is the 20th year of Funkatopia this year.
That's a commitment, man. That's all right, man. I mean, other than me, of course, who are some of your favorite people you've interviewed? Like, what right now, if I was to ask you?
it's kind of interesting. I mean, there's some of the iconic interviews that I didn't expect. Like I mentioned Thomas Dolby before. When I was contacted by Thomas Dolby because he was releasing, and I wasn't big at that point, and he was releasing a new album. I can't remember the name of the album now. And he goes, "Can I come on the show and talk about it?" And I said, "I'm sorry, am I talking to Thomas Dolby, like She Blinded Me with Science, Europa and the Pirate Twins, Thomas Dolby? Is this what we're talking about?" He's like, yeah. I was just like, okay, well, absolutely, this will be fantastic. And then what ended up happening is it kind of spiraled into an 80s thing because then I interviewed Wang Chung, and it was like it just kind of just happened. And it ended up being this 80s thing. And these are all bands that I was, highly loved as a kid of the 80s and 70s and 80s more. But it was, I think if I had to pick a favorite one, I would probably say one of my favorite interviews was one that I didn't really have to interview much, and it was Wally Safford and Damon Dixon. They came on the show and they hadn't seen each other or talked to each other in like over 20, it was 20 years, like long time. Like these brothers had not talked in a long time. And they started going and started talking and sharing stories and just talking back and forth and just went off on this tangent. And literally all I had to do was just sit back and not say anything.
Yeah.
And just let them go down this rabbit hole of just memories. And it was just a really, really cool, it was just a really, really cool, amazing show. And of course, if I had to, pick one where I actually had to do something, I would say Jesse Johnson was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
This last one was a lot of fun because I actually felt like I had a little bit more control over the interview. The first time that he was on, he was telling, I think he was just getting it out of his system, and it was really hard to kind of stay on task. But both Jesse Johnson interviews were fantastic, but I've had so many over the years. Jamiroquai interviewing. I had all of Jamiroquai except for Jay, all of Jamiroquai.
Wow.
Interview. That was friggin' amazing, and Brand New Heavies. And it's just been a long period of time where I've just been able to interview so many great people, man.
Yeah. I guess 20 years, that's a lot to ask for if I'm asking. Yeah. Cause that's a lot of time to go back through, but somebody could called me a suck up. And they said I thought I was the only one that sucks up to Chris. Like, well, yeah, well, okay, yes, I'm sucking up, but I'm also getting paid, Andre. So yeah. Andre's
a mess. He's up in I think he's up in Canada, but he's a mess. He's a troublemaker. You guys stay there.
I was there. I'm like, this dude, he likes to come around and poke a little bit, and I have to decide it's like whether I'm going to legitimize his poking by speaking on him. But he sounds like he's all right to me.
Yeah.
Now I'm sucking up to him.
Well, as always, man, it's been an amazing visit from you. Hope you had a good week. I may take the week off next week too. It feels like I didn't even.
Well, listen. I mean, if you want to, that's fine. I'll join the following. Well, get at me and let me know who's on the following week if it makes sense for me to join you.
Oh yeah, well, you got practice next week, so
next week, yes,
following week. Yeah.
But I'm saying like the week after, like I don't know how early do you plan?
Oh, it just depends. Sometimes are weeks in advance, depending on what's happening. Other times, it ends up being last minute. But I always spend many hours, as you can tell by some of the prep work that kind of goes into putting the show together. It's many hours of doing the research and getting the images and finding what questions have already been asked, so that I'm not redundant, and just kind of digging a little bit deeper. Right. Sometimes I hear people do interviews and it's just like the interviewee will say something that definitely deserves to be delved into deeper, and the interviewer just goes, it's like, well, are you even paying attention to what this person is saying?
Right. Yeah. Listening is important. Listening is very important.
Yeah. It's the I learned that more from, believe it or not, from Howard Stern.
I think he's strong. He's a strong interviewer.
Yeah, he listens, and he's just like, "Wait, now what did you just say?" That type. Yeah, he's definitely and he's obsessed with Prince.
Yeah, it seems to be, huh? Yeah.
It seems like every single artist that has ever crossed paths with Prince, he makes sure that he gets to that Prince
He
story.
wants to know that story, yeah, because the Prince stories are bizarre. It's like I hadn't thought about it before, but somebody said like he's like Prince was like the David Blaine of rock and roll. Like he just appeared and vanished, you know. Like, and you know what? It was like that even at Paisley. It was like you just look up and he'd be there. It's like I didn't, you know. Sometimes you'd hear the boots, and other times you didn't. You know,
I bet.
it's like I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like trap doors and sort of like movable, you know, like some secret entryways like through walls and whatnot in that building.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever feel comfortable ever saying anything negative or even slightly off kilter about him inside this park.
See, and here's the remarkable thing, man. And we'll close with this because the only reason I know this is because Reverend Mike Scott told me this story. He said, man, he said, I was in Prince's office, man. He was playing me a cassette. Y'all were somewhere in the building. Like the building was bugged. We were having a conversation. We were mad about something, and Mike Scott said Prince was playing the tape for him. And he's like, "Man, you guys were going in on Prince," and he was just laughing and laughing and laughing. And I was like, "Wow, man!" He said, "Man, you guys were so funny." Because I mean, the four of us, you know, there was a lot of pressure involved in that gig, and we didn't always understand, you know, what Prince was where he was trying to go with things, and and also, this is kind of probably around when it just got to be the four of us, like me and Morris, Tommy and Sonny, and then Prince and Mighty, of course. So it's like when it got to be like this little group, you know, it's like all the communication got really tight between us, and we all were pretty open, you know. And you know, there were good days and there were bad days, and on bad days, you know, of course, you don't show it at work, but maybe if I mean, we didn't really know we were being surveilled, but the fact that Prince, you know, that he never got mad enough to fire us just from what he heard. It's like, dude, you must have been born with skin like so thick, you know. And the other thing is this: it's like, wow, you know what? I wonder how much of that candid criticism may have affected, you know, how Prince saw himself. Maybe he corrected some things in his life because when people are being honest, you can do two things: you can get mad about it, or you can listen and try to, you know, extract something from it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard to say, man.
I'm like really bad. I know they tell you that if you ever put like videos on YouTube or you ever, to not read the comments, I read like all the comments and sometimes I'll reply, but you know, if something is like really negative on the guest, if something's negative on the guest or it's just not a nice thing to say, I'll delete it. I mean, it's just like, and I shouldn't, I know that I shouldn't because I feel like, you know, maybe what they said other people agree with too, but I feel like I would rather have a place where you can watch a video and just be able to see some positivity and kind of maintain that positivity instead of having somebody come in and throw a grenade and then disappear.
You're the curator. You have to decide.
Right.
You're the ultimate author of the content. So,
you know,
I understand that and I can appreciate it. Yeah, man. Because I mean, people are impulsive on social media. They operate from their feelings, you know, and they're less likely to kind of check themselves and sit with it for a minute. Like they just, you know, the keyboard warriors are always busy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there was one time I had you on the show. You were talking about how you guys used to pray before the show.
Uh-huh.
And you had mentioned that I had said, what, you know, whenever Prince led the prayer, did he ever say anything off kilter? And you said something to the effect of, you know, you had the conversation or like you were wondering if, you know, Prince was going to say, "Oh, hail Satan" or whatever. It's something along those lines. It was tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I understood exactly where you were coming from.
But somebody didn't.
Oh yeah. No, somebody was like, "Oh, this is horrible. Prince doesn't worship Satan, blah, 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 blah." I was like, okay, time out. I completely understood where you were coming from because we also have that similar background with, you know, being Christians, that you know, there was a period of time where you just didn't really understand where Prince was coming from, because while he was saying one thing, he was also saying things that were totally off the wall that really kind of made you back up and go, you know, it really kind of question, where he was coming from. So it's like you're like never letting your guard down in that regard. And that's what you meant by that. It was just like you never knew what he was going to say, type of thing.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, he's admitted himself that some of his persona was acting, some of it was coming from a real place. His main thing was he wanted to make people question everything. He wanted to challenge what people thought.
Nothing safe.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, and that was the point, really. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. And anybody who's familiar with his material knows that Prince liked to play as much with the light as with the dark.
Yep.
Exactly. And who knows, what was going on truly. Only he knows what was going on truly within him. And it's, I mean, I'm not saying that I thought the worst of Prince's spiritual life. I'm saying we all have challenges.
Yeah.
And Prince's challenges were not my challenges. And I got to know for myself, I'm praying to the God that I believe in, and that's not saying I'm not conflating or comparing. I'm just like, I know where I'm trying to stand with the creator. Yeah. That's Prince's business. Whatever he's doing, he doesn't have to account for it. I don't have to understand it. Your relationship with the creator is personal. So no matter who I'm praying with, I got blinders on.
Yeah, and you never knew. I mean, Eric Leeds said the same thing. I asked Eric Leeds about, what he felt about Prince's spirituality, and Eric was like, "It was all bull." I'm like, "What?"
Okay, well, hey,
like, he said, "I could tell you things that he said directly into my ear that would make your skin crawl." I was just like, "Okay, sure. All right."
But you know what? I can't say that. And that's because I had a different kind of relationship with Prince.
Right. Different time period. Right.
Different time period and a completely different relationship. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I think he was a provocateur. Sometimes he would say things to see how people might respond.
Exactly. That's the perfect word. That's the perfect word for him, the provocateur.
Yeah. I mean, some of it was just like, okay, let's see what happens if I do this. If I take this away from this person, what'll happen? I mean, I think he was, he in his own way, he was conducting experiments on people, to be honest, to see what they would do. But I mean, if you come from a place, and I don't mean to get super deep, but if you come from a place, or if it within your past, you never really could trust anybody, or, you never had a soft place to fall. As a person, you don't develop like regular mechanisms of dealing with people who are within your proximity. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And especially in his case.
Yes. So whatever he had to do to scratch that itch on the inside, he did it. It's like, I don't really think he was ever really trying to be mean. He just was misunderstood often and impatient. And, anybody who's passionate about what they're doing is going to get impatient, sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a good thing to kind of come around and tie a bow in it. Going back to the documentary, it's kind of understanding that aspect of it for the documentary's sake, but, figuring out how to safely kind of navigate those waters. And if they're even going to do that, if they're even going to be like, you know what, we're not even going to talk about the provocative stuff. We're not even going to talk about we're just, it might be a 6-hour fluff piece.
It's sure. Okay. But, it's hard to judge if you haven't been in that position with that person. You know what I mean? Even me, I spent 7 straight years with him and recorded more with him than anybody as a side man, as a player. But even still, it's like, it's all musicians have we probably talked about this last time I was on. There's a brokenness that we come into the world with, that God breaks us in a certain way for what he needs us to do in the world as musicians. I can't speak for everybody else, but I know that this is a commonality between others, friends of mine, Dave Perner, for instance. I told him about this and he was like, I understand exactly what you're saying. Because you sometimes wonder, like, what is it that makes me try so hard to achieve? Because we're trying to prove something to somebody in the process, but for me, the brokenness gave me my life. There was a hole in me as long as I can remember. And I didn't realize that what music was there for was to fill it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not only that, God had to break me so that I would try harder and reach a level of refinement where I can, you know, magnify his name, give glory, you know.
Right. Yeah,
that's what it is. You know,
that's what a lot of people have to grasp in their life, is that if God has given you a skill, you're supposed to use it.
It's responsibility. Yeah, and that's what Prince did do.
Right.
Prince took it very seriously because he knew that he wasn't ordinary. He's a different type of dude. Like, you know, those songs were pouring out of him. He had difficulties sometimes. I remember talking to Tanya, to T-Bird, his hairdresser, and she was like, man, Prince will just jump up sometimes. He'll be writing lyrics while I'm doing his hair. And sometimes he would jump out of the chair in frustration and just start cussing because he's looking for the right rhyme. He's searching for something, you know, and she'd have to pull a hot comb and, you know, oh Lord, I can't burn Prince, you know. He'd get up, he'd be, you know, openly upset, you know, because he'd be working that hard to try to really get to it. Like, what am I saying here? You know,
right?
Distilling his inner, whatever he's channeling, into a way everybody else can understand it. That's serious business.
Yeah, because you cannot name one song where there is a syllable out of place in a Prince song.
That's right.
Not one. There is no wasted space on Prince's music. None.
Now the fact that he did it and could give, you know, and didn't care whether you liked it or not. That's why he was so bold. He was trying to satisfy himself. He was scratching his own itch, man, and you know, hope that somebody might, you know, get into it. But it was okay if you didn't.
That's right.
You know, he was really like that. Like, I don't know what they want. This is what I got.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be, yeah. Well,
right,
I'm looking forward to a brand new documentary that's but more.
I'll take that fluff piece. If it's got more footage, new footage in it, I'll take that fluff. Yeah.
Yeah. We want the music though. That's what we want. We want the music.
Sure we do. We love music. That's what we want.
That's it. That's it. That's right.
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it for the one, the only, Michael Bland, the man. And it's
shake my elbow fat for you there a little bit.
It's always an honor it's always an honor to have you on the show, man. You are always full of verve and stories and memories, and you know, you got the authority to tell them too. So
well,
it's awesome.
Well, I enjoy it here. I don't enjoy it everywhere, but you know, we have fun, man. We got a rapport, we got a thing, we got love, man. It's all right.
All day long. Yeah, all day long, man. All right, brother. I'm gonna cut all of y'all loose. Thank you guys for hanging out for another long night. This is another 3.5 hour show.
Yeah.
It's just time just flies by. It's crazy to me how quickly it's unreal. It's unreal.
When you're having fun, yeah, it goes quicker than you can.
Before I let you go, where can people? The Chanhassen Dinner Theater show can people? You said there's still a few tickets left. Can people?
Yeah, you'd have to go to their website. I mean, it's
It's Chanhassen Dinner Theater, and of course, we already set. I think we set up a link for this one too. Then we
definitely set up a link for this because we've been talking about this for a hot minute.
Yeah, I think it was just together. It was funkatopia.com/together, I think is what it was.
Yeah, there's still it's about half the room is still open.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah.
But it's nowhere near April. It will be
right. It's going to be sold out. I'm calling it right. I'm pointing at the grounds. I'm pointing at the bleachers. I'm pointing out to the crowd now.
We're gonna
be a home run, man.
Claiming it.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, stay blessed. We will see you in a couple weeks, brother.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks again.
Take care. See you later.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the man, Michael Bland. Hope you guys had a fun night tonight. Lots of stuff for you to catch up on. I was going to sit on that high. I don't know if everybody noticed, but I'm wearing a high fade t-shirt today that I got from it was crazy. Okay, so listen to this. I went to go see High Fade in Atlanta. Amazing show, great show. I did a lot of video, but I also recorded audio of it too. I'm sending everything to High Fade, and they'll check it out as they go. But I got a vinyl that was autographed by them and a t-shirt. And when I went to pay for it, he said that'll be 60 pounds. And I wasn't thinking about conversion in my head, to US dollars. I was like, is it less? Is it more? I don't know. So I signed it, whatever. And then I got with my brother-in-law and he's like, 60 pounds. That's a lot. I was like, how much is it? 60 pounds? Is this like $75? It was like $75. So it's okay. I'm supporting the band. It's all good. But anyways, a t-shirt and vinyl was $75. It was like, whew, that's like a name brand show. That's major artist show there pricing. Anyways, great show. The interview is up that I did with High Fade. So go check that out. If for those who are not familiar with High Fade, you can check out the video I posted on Facebook, facebook.com/Funkatopia. Also, the interview is out on YouTube as well. Actually, the High Fade clip is on YouTube as well. Go to Funkatopia.com. You can see all that stuff. So thank you to High Fade I got to interview them on site at the concert backstage. So I got to interview them there. Thank you tonight for Patavian and also Danny Bedrosian from Parliament Funkadelic and the release of their new album, Red Balloon. We walked through every single one of the songs on the album. I played you a little clip of every single one of them. So I hope you guys enjoyed that and some of the backstory and some of everything that was going on. You can still get that album tonight, Funkatopia.com/Patavian. That's Patavian. You can also get information to pick up the album there. Thank you once again to Michael Bland for showing up to kind of talk through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees and some of the other craziness that's going on with that. And of course, the Record Store Day information about the Prince release. And of course, we talked more about the documentary as well. So another packed night of stuff. I probably am going to take next week off because I feel like I'm just kind of been running a lot because I don't know if you saw at the beginning of the show, not very many of you were here at the beginning, but this has been a very, very active, year already. I mean, I told you at the end of 2024 that my goal was to talk about bands that not were necessarily attached to Prince, but that were funk, everywhere funk. And so far this year, just as I said, tonight we had Patavian and Danny Bedrosian from Parliament Funkadelic. At the beginning of the year, we had Adam Smirnoff from Lettuce. We've also had DeVibes from Watermelon Funk. Michael Bland has been on the show 3 times now. I interviewed High Fade. High Fade, their interview was just posted yesterday, so you can see that on YouTube and everywhere else. And of course, last week, interviewed Jesse Johnson on the 40th anniversary of Jesse Johnson's Review. So the only one that's tied to Prince in all of that, Michael Bland and Jesse Johnson, but we weren't talking about Prince. We were talking about, Prince stories did come up, but we were talking about Jesse Johnson's Review, which Prince had nothing to do with. So I think I've been pretty good at kind of maintaining that balance of making sure that I give you what I've promised so that you guys can experience more in the funk world, but also kind of making sure that you guys are getting what you need for your purple fixes and my purple fixes too, because obviously, here we are. So anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. I hope, please subscribe, like, whatever. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, please follow, whatever it is on X, just wherever you are, please make sure that you like and subscribe. It means a lot. I will go ahead and put this out online tomorrow. So if you want to catch the Patavian and Danny Bedrosian part of the show, you can do that. Want to catch the Michael Bland part, I'll separate them out. So it's all good. Hope you guys are having a good time. Thank you guys so much for your support. And please make sure that you continue to support. Oh, there was one more thing I was going to talk about. Excuse me. What I wanted to do was to make sure that I apologize to some of the Patreon supporters because the top 2 levels of Patreon supporters, if you can support Funkatopia in a variety of different places, there's you can do one-time donations at Venmo at Funkatopia, Funkatopia. Don't forget the A in the middle. And also on Cash App at $Funkatopia, Funkatopia. But also remember, we have 3 radio stations that you can download on one app. It's called Funked Up. So you can go and get it on Android. You can get it on iPhone, and it's called Funked Up. It's got 3 radio stations that is ASCAP licensed. We're also going through some other licensings too to cover some of the things that may fall outside of that realm. So we're also I'm following up on those things too. One of those 3 radio stations though is only for Patreon supporters, and Patreon supporters get a lot of cool things. We get not only do they get access to that third radio station, but on top of that, I also do little gifts and send files and whatnot. And normally towards the beginning of each new year, I send out to the top 2 tiers. I send out gifts. Sometimes I go beyond that. I think 2 years ago I went beyond that, and just do like little things that are really, really special. 2 years ago, I did 45s of Prince's, Prince's singles. I got a bunch of 45s and I made them into clocks so that you could hang up clocks and stuff. And this year, I wasn't exactly sure what to do for those top 2 tier supporters. And even if you're not a top two tier supporter now, you can join right now and you'll still get a gift. But this year I decided, and I'm just going to show you a couple of things, but basically, just so you know what to expect, sorry. There's going to be a mixtape bag that I'm going to be sending out, and there's going to be stuff inside. And one of the problems is that I am having some difficulty. There's been delays in getting some of the stuff that I'm wanting to put in this, but there's going to be some really cool Prince related stuff that it's going to be in there. And also in all of them, there's going to be a purple jump drive. Is it going to be blank? No, it won't be blank. What's going to be on this purple jump drive to those top Patreon supporters? I don't know. I guess it depends on how long you've been here, how long you've been with me, how long you've been supporting it. That's going to vary about what's going to be on here. But then on top of that, also there's going to be other stuff in the bags too, like little knickknacks, paddywhacks, and bones. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're not a supporter, head to patreon.com/Funkatopia. That's patreon.com/Funkatopia. That's Funkatopia. Ken says, how do we reach you via email? Cool. Yeah, I'm all down for that. You want to reach me? It's at funkatopia@gmail.com, Funkatopia@gmail.com. You can reach me there. And anyways, I hope you guys had a great time. Please support the station. If you can't join, can't join Patreon, that's fine. Patreon, patreon.com/Funkatopia. If you can't join there, do one-time donation via Cash App or Venmo and everything. That's perfect. It kind of helps us pay these ASCAP licensing fees, pays for all this stuff and everything. And it's a break-even thing, but you know what? I've been doing this for 20 years. It is actually a passion project, and I'm glad that there's a lot of people on to listen. So again, subscribe, please do that. Do that right now before you leave. Please click subscribe. Please click follow on Facebook. Please click do all that stuff. Anyways, hope you guys had a good night. We will talk to you maybe next week. I don't know. Sometimes things just pop up and I never know what they are, but this is crazy. Good night, everyone. Hope you had a good time. Mr. Christopher, Funkatopia, signing out. Good night. I'm still here. Goodbye.